Chapter 1420. At this time, there were only 100,000 people left in the 10,000 Demon Valley. Besides, half of these 100,000 people were Sea Demon Realm powerhouses. Han Fei didn't feel good at all. This was absolutely impossible for the 10,000 Demon Valley in the past. Think about the White Shell Royal City. Damn, the White Shell Royal City had only produced 100,000 sea spirits after so many years of operation. Good heavens, how many years had it been since I left the Scattered Stars Island? With a swish, 50,000 Sea Demon Realm powerhouses suddenly appeared. Did they fall from the sky? Han Fei thought, the 10,000 Demon Valley definitely doesn't have the ability to create so many Sea Demon Realm powerhouses. Or, the 10,000 Demon Valley has opened up a king's secret realm? There are infinite resources inside, and cultivation speed is amazing. Either that, or these people had come out from the crack. Han Fei burst into fury. Old Yuan, where are the 50,000 sea demons? The old turtle asked, what do you want to do? Don't worry. I'm not stupid enough to slaughter all the sea demons in their base camp. I need to catch a person to see where the people of the 10,000 Demon Valley have gone. And how did they grow so fast? In the end, the old turtle pointed to the direction of the cultivation canyon in the 10,000 Demon Valley. Han Fei jumped over without hesitation. He had already walked through the 72-floor soul realm. The cultivation canyon had no secret to him at all. In just a quarter of an hour, Han Fei came to an ordinary demon realm outside the 72-floor soul realm. This demon realm was a place to cultivate the soul. Han Fei quietly sneaked in. Generally speaking, even if the other party had a king, they generally wouldn't go into the cultivation's secret realm to observe everyone. Han Fei just took a few steps randomly, and with a thought, the void lines directly seized a half-mermaid who was cultivating. Han Fei's realm and strength were too much higher than this half-mermaid's. Therefore, the moment the half-mermaid was controlled by Han Fei, he couldn't even open his eyes and couldn't control his soul. Deep in his heart, Han Fei could even feel the horror in his soul. This time, Han Fei's soul-searching technique finally came in handy. Since Han Fei deduced the awesome soul-searching technique, he had never searched the soul of a half-mermaid. This time, the half-mermaid was still in a state of cultivation. Han Fei scanned with his soul and felt that part of his consciousness had dived directly into the half-mermaid's consciousness world. Shwa shwa shwa. Tens of thousands of pictures appeared in Han Fei's perception. For example, this half-mermaid was named Ufa. For example, this half-mermaid was a butterfly fish. For example, from the time this half-mermaid successfully evolved to the time it entered the 10,000 Demon Valley for the first time, it had been instilled with the belief that human beings should be killed. Han Fei ignored the unimportant information one by one. Soon, Han Fei discovered a different battlefield in the depths of the half-mermaid's consciousness. On a certain cultivation night a few years ago, Ufa was cultivating in the cultivation canyon as usual. At that time, he was only at the high level of the demonization realm and was not very strong. On that day, a loud noise and a strong earthquake brought countless half-mermaids back from their cultivation. A terrifying pressure appeared out of thin air, causing everyone to be unable to move a muscle. All the half-mermaids were trembling in their hearts, fearing that this was a sneak attack from a human powerhouse. But immediately afterward, a phantom stood proudly in the void. The man was bathed in brilliance. Under the divine brilliance, the man said, "My king has come to this world to thank the 10,000 Demon Valley for fighting with the human race over the years and suffering heavy casualties. He has opened a holy realm for cultivation, and all creatures above the demonization realm can enter this realm to cultivate." Blue Feather immediately knelt in front of the holy light. "Thank you, my king. I will do my best to defeat the human race." But he heard the man continue, "Oh, Blue Feather, my king is grateful for your great contribution to our sea clan, So he told me that you and other Tao-seeking powerhouses of the 10,000 Demon Valley can all cultivate in the Holy Realm. With that, the man waved his hand, and a mountain in the center of the 10,000 Demon Valley shattered. Under the earth vein, a golden light rushed into the sky, and a big golden fish rushed out and turned into a human figure in the blink of an eye. Han Fei read Yu Fei's memory and saw this scene clearly. As soon as the man appeared, he half knelt on the ground. Igaras, thank you, my king, for unlocking the seal. Above the sky, the voice was indifferent. Igaras, 1,800 years ago, you were defeated and almost ruined the foundation of the 10,000 Demon Valley. Now, my king has come to this world. Considering that you have become a venerable and have guarded the 10,000 Demon Valley for more than 1,000 years, I will allow you to atone for your mistakes. Don't let my king down. The man shouted to the sky, Igaras, I will go through fire and water. If I fail again this time, I will kill myself to thank my king. Han Fei was stunned. 1,800 years ago, this man almost caused the destruction of the 10,000 Demon Valley? But 1,800 years ago, wasn't that Tang Yan's era? It seemed that a world-shaking battle had broken out, leading to the destruction of the royal city. Not only did the sea demons stop fighting, but the human race also suffered heavy losses. Even Tang Yan himself gave up the position of the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island and went to find the location of the royal city. The miraculous scene on that day was more or less what it looked like. Except for the guy wrapped in the holy light, it seemed that only one venerable jumped out from the beginning to the end. In Han Fei's experience, this was undoubtedly an act. Obviously, that person had made an agreement with Blue Feather and the others in advance. Of course, Han Fei couldn't directly see the strength of that person from his memory. However, from this person's words, he could get a few key pieces of information. One was a saint realm. This should be a place with extremely abundant resources that could quickly help these half-mermaids improve their realms. The other was a newly surrendered king. What was a newly surrendered king? That was just arrived. Could it be that there was no king in this city in the past? But now it did. From this information, it could be concluded that this sea demon royal city was not in the Yin-Yang heaven, nor had anything to do with the Waterwood heaven. There was only one result: the Wall of Death, which was the Chaotic Sea. This sea demon royal city could only be in the Chaotic Sea. Han Fei continued to search. After that night, the 10,000 Demon Valley was in an uproar. In the following days, the 10,000 Demon Valley restricted the sea demons from going out. All the exits were blocked. After 7 days, 6 super venerables that Han Fei had never seen before suddenly appeared in the 10,000 Demon Valley. Together, they carved a huge array, almost covering the entire sky above the 10,000 Demon Valley. Han Fei saw from Yu Fei's memory that it was clearly a huge teleportation array, and it was a directional teleportation array. For an array master like Han Fei, how could he not even see a directional teleportation array? Han Fei even saw some more complicated things from this directional teleportation array. For example, this teleportation array was mixed with some defensive arrays and soul-driving arrays. However, when Han Fei saw this, he had a bad feeling in his heart. The Sea Demon Venerable was not a fool. Why would he make such a big teleportation array for no reason? Sure enough, Blue Feather's voice shook the entire 10,000 Demon Valley. Attention, everyone, you are all outstanding disciples of our 10,000 Demon Valley. At the command of my king, I will tell you a piece of shocking news. The Sea Demon Royal City is about to return, and my king is about to return. Before my king returns, he will grant you an unparalleled Holy Land. In this realm, there are countless opportunities. In the Holy Land trial, you can only leave after reaching the Sea Demon realm. Everyone, get ready to enter. When he got here, Han Fei had a question. If one could only leave after reaching the Sea Demon realm, then why were there still 50,000 people in the 10,000 Demon Valley who hadn't reached the Sea Demon realm? However, on second thought, Han Fei understood. Those who were incapable, responsible for buying things, refining, and poor talents as servants, were probably ordered to stay. In other words, some people missed the time. Because under normal circumstances, sea demons could leave the 10,000 Demon Valley and go out to hunt. Those who were hunting outside were definitely not a small number. Originally, they went out to hunt desperately. However, the others just sat at home and enjoyed benefits from the sky. When they came back, the teleportation array must have been closed. Otherwise, how much would it cost to maintain such a large teleportation array all the time? Its opening time must also be paid attention to. At that moment, Han Fei saw millions of half-mermaids and half-mermaids rushing to the array, which was really shocking. Han Fei was quite calm. In fact, he had expected this. What was the 10,000 Demon Valley like? Didn't he know? How could there be so many sea demons all of a sudden? The path of cultivation, to put it bluntly, was the same as that of the Zerg clan. Only a fairly large population base could give birth to some extraordinary strong masters. Needless to say, there were 50,000 people in the Sea Demon realm, so the number of people who broke through to the Sea Spirit realm in the Holy Land was less than 1%, right? There were still 500 sea spirits. After all, this was equivalent to a welfare secret realm. For those whose strength had been suppressed, it was normal for their strength to advance by leaps and bounds after obtaining a great opportunity. Even if the number of sea spirits born was less than 1%, there should be at least 1/1,000 or 1/10,000. The population base of the 10,000 Demon Valley was so large. If there were millions of sea demons, there would be hundreds of sea spirit. That would be strange. Han Fei followed Yuefei's dream, entered the teleportation array, and arrived at an unknown sea area. This place was covered by fog and strong winds. Han Fei was surprised. Why is this place so familiar? The periphery of the Wall of Death? Han Fei had confirmed that this was outside the Wall of Death. In the Waterwood Sky, when the three forces gathered outside the Wall of Death, they encountered such a scene when they fought for resources. When they arrived at this place, a venerable that Han Fei was familiar with appeared. That person was the venerable named Igaras, and there seemed to be other venerables. Yuefei and the others were taken to a place. Han Fei took a breath of cold air. A crack? Yes, in the place between heaven and earth outside the Wall of Death, Han Fei saw a huge crack. The army of 1,000,000 sea demons lined up and walked towards the crack. Son of a bitch, did they go inside the Wall of Death? Chapter 14:21. Fortunately, he had the soul-searching art. It was so simple, effective, and fast, and he found a breakthrough point. As Han Fei continued to search, he soon saw the so-called Saint Realm. What was it like? It was a boundless undersea gravel jungle, where there were disordered reefs, sea anemones, thousands of kilometers of coral, undersea jungles, and sand seas. In short, that place was equivalent to a terrain where many secret realms were mixed together. As for the so-called cultivation, it wasn't accurate at all. There were a large number of big conches there. Whether it was the coral sea, the undersea jungles, or the sand seas, there were conches everywhere. Sea demons could quickly improve their strength and soul by killing the big conches and swallowing a drop of essence blood produced from the flesh of those conches. In the so-called Saint Realm, Han Fei saw millions of conches. There were more than 100 species of these big conches. Because this place was too big, Han Fei had no doubt that this was a world of big conches. The real number of big conches was probably far greater than what Yuefei could see. Oh my God, is there a flood of big conches here? Of course, there was no free lunch in the world. Those who got real benefits would also encounter risk. After the essence blood of these big conches was absorbed, they didn't seem to be digested and absorbed immediately. As a result, some half-mermaids who had been hunting big conches began to fight each other. The number of those who died in the fight with each other, and those who died in the battle with the big conches and were devoured was not small at all. I can't say much, but there's definitely a 30% casualty rate. In theory, this number was already very high. After all, it was said that it was the Saint Realm, but after entering there was still a chance of death? This was not a Saint Realm, but a secret realm of death. 1,000,000 people went in, and when they came out, only 700,000 people were left. 300,000 of them had perished. However, the sea demons obviously didn't care about this. After all, the 1,000,000 demonization realm became 700,000 sea demon realm. This was a good deal. Even Han Fei was very envious. If this news was told to the millions of soldiers on the Scattered Stars Island, they would also rush to this secret realm. It was estimated that those people would also go crazy to explore this secret realm. Of course, this was what he felt from UFA's memory. What was the situation over there? He would have to go and see for himself to know. In Han Fei's opinion, although the benefits there were great, that place was too evil. A place full of sea snails and a marine ecological environment, no matter how you looked at it, there was something wrong with it. Could it be that the snails now all swallowed spiritual energy and didn't eat seaweed? Or could it be that spiritual energy had replaced food? Had most marine creatures forgotten the traditional way of hunting? These people were able to grow rapidly because they had absorbed the blood essence in the snail's meat. What kind of logic was that? Could it be that the effect of a living being's blood essence had already surpassed that of a supreme-grade spirit fruit? Or could it be that the essence blood contained some other special power? Han Fei was speechless. If a drop of essence blood was so useful, it must contain the power of Tao, right? But Han Fei wondered how a creature that could be killed by a demonization realm half-mermaid had the power of the Great Path. It seemed like there were still some unknown secrets hidden within. In any case, this place could indeed be regarded as a saint land. It was like a pie falling from the sky. Although the snails were difficult to kill, they could still be trained. At that time, Han Fei gritted his teeth and said, "If such a place can't be owned by the human race, can the Sea Clan use it?" Han Fei had made up his mind to explore it first. If he confirmed that the secret realm was there, he would take people to destroy it. Otherwise, wouldn't the 10,000 Demon Valley be filled with half-mermaids and half-mermaids? It was conceivable that if all the half-mermaids and half-mermaids in the 10,000 Demon Valley reached the Sea Demon Realm, then what about the Blood Sea Valley? There were more than 3 million ordinary sea demons in the Blood Sea Valley. How many Sea Demon Realm cultivators would be born? How many Sea Spirit Realm cultivators? Haha. Fortunately, I made a trip here. Otherwise, the Scattered Stars Island would be doomed. With a thought, Han Fei erased a piece of UFA's memory with the power of his soul. After a few minutes, UFA suddenly woke up from his cultivation and quickly looked around. Seeing that no one was around, he let out a long sigh of relief. For some reason, UFA felt that he seemed to have had a dream just now, and what he dreamed of was the scene in the Saint Land. UFA couldn't help shivering slightly. Of course, the Saint Land was a place where he could grow. But at the same time, the Saint Land was also a huge abyssal mouth, constantly devouring the lives of half-mermaids and half-mermaid. In this world, there was no free lunch. Want to grow up? You have to pay the price. If you get benefits, someone has to pay the price. Everything is relative. UFA swore that he must become a strong master. Only by becoming strong would he have a higher chance of surviving in this chaotic world. While UFA was still silently making his wish, Han Fei had quietly floated out of the 10,000 Demon Valley. In less than 3 days, all 3 places had been investigated. Originally, Han Fei just wanted to take a look at the newly appeared crack. What the hell was it? However, after taking a look, he found a big problem. Seeing that Han Fei had already swum out, the old turtle said, "Han Fei, you were using the soul-manipulating technique just now, weren't you?" Han Fei said, "Of course, without the soul-manipulating technique, How could I know where these people went? Why did they suddenly grow up? The old turtle asked, Have you found them? Han Fei said, I need to verify it. Han Fei felt that he had to find a way to let Little Black and Little White continue to grow. Now, he couldn't really hide from the top masters. Even a peak-level explorer like the Star Tortoise could find him as long as he paid close attention. Indeed, this pure darkness was actually very suitable for sneaking. Until Han Fei was 100,000 kilometers away from the 10,000 Demon Valley, no one found that his base had been explored several times. Taking out the venerable token, Han Fei sat on the sea and waited for a moment. Then he saw a flash in the void and Jing appeared beside him, holding a glass of burning Liehua liquor in her hand. Han Fei was dumbfounded. You like this? Jing said, It was boring to wait. So I went to the Scattered Stars Island and got some food and drinks. Han Fei thought to himself, this half-king realm master is really capricious. She ran 500,000 or 600,000 kilometers just to get some food. Interesting. Jing asked, How is it? What did you find in the base of the sea demons? Han Fei shook his head. What is certain is that there is no half-king realm master. There is one peak-level venerable, but I don't know if there is only one. By the way, Jing what is the furthest range of your venerable token? Jing wondered. This is a direction guide. If the territory of the Yinyang heaven is not much larger than the Waterwood heaven, then no matter where you are, I can sense the direction and guide you. Of course, the farther the distance, the less accurate the sensing will be. If it is more than 1,000,000 kilometers, I can only sense where you are. Where exactly is it? As long as you get close, you can feel it clearly. Han Fei thought about the sea map of the Yinyang heaven hanging in the general's mansion. The area covered by the sea map was about 3 million miles. Behind the 10,000 Demon Valley, the map only covered more than 1 million kilometers. On that map, places such as the 36 towns and the Level 3 fishery were not marked. However, the places where the Scattered Stars Island and the 10,000 Demon Valley were located were more like two armies facing each other. With the Scattered Stars Island and the 10,000 Demon Valley as the dividing line, each side occupied half of the sea. Therefore, Han Fei could predict that the 36 towns were behind the Scattered Stars Island. However, this distance should be more than 2 million kilometers, or even more than 3 million kilometers. Only in this way, the sea map of the general's mansion didn't show the 36 towns and the 1,000-star city. Moreover, the 36 towns were islands of arrays, so they should also have considerable protection. In the same way, Han Fei figured out that the so-called Saint Land should be at the rear of the 10,000 Demon Valley, near the Wall of Death. Han Fei said, Jing I'm going to a place that may be about 4 million kilometers away. At that time, I need you to cross the void and come to me. Han Fei thought that since he said he wouldn't use Jing power, he'd better not use it. Jing was surprised. So far. The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Is it very far for you? Jing shrugged. It's far. Even if you're a half-king, it will probably take you half an hour to get there at the fastest speed. If you want to go there quietly, it will take at least an hour. If you have 4 hours, you won't be discovered so easily. Han Fei said in surprise, What's the reason? A half-king is afraid of being discovered by others? Jing shook her head slightly. Well, you don't know this. When the speed reaches a certain limit, space will change, and the flow of time will change slightly. When you reach the half-king realm, your speed may cause changes in space and time. That is a dangerous area. Under normal circumstances, only a king-level powerhouse dares to travel in such a way. After Jing explained, the old turtle also said, when the speed reaches a certain limit, the way you travel will change, and you will no longer simply escape in reality and the void. They could create their own passageways in the void. You haven't reached this level yet in the half-king realm, so Jing didn't lie to you. Wow. Han Fei couldn't help but take a breath wondering if the speed Jing and the old turtle were talking about was close to the speed of light. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, Jing can you catch up with the speed of light with your current speed? Hearing this, Jing was stunned for a moment and then she smiled. How is it possible? That's a field that only king-level powerhouses can reach. I'm still far from that. If I must say, the peak speed when I break out may be 1% of the speed of light. Han Fei. Chapter 1422. Han Fei felt that it was good to chat with the old turtle and Jing when he was free. Damn it, he was shocked when he chatted with them. Jing peak speed had reached 1% of the speed of light. Han Fei really wanted to count with his fingers. At that time, he felt terrible. Jing speed was 5 or 6,000 kilometers per second. Was she still a human? Seeing that Han Fei was dumbfounded, Jing couldn't help but say, Hey. Don't equate the distance in the real world with the distance in the void state. You should have experienced it yourself. The sense of distance in reality and in the void is completely different. Similarly, when you become a venerable or even a demi-king in the future, you will naturally understand. Han Fei thought to himself, anyway, I can't understand it now. If I can really reach such a fast speed, can I really travel through time? Maybe I can explain the mystery of level 10. But Han Fei didn't hesitate. This world was so magical. In a sense, he was no longer a human. If he were in the past, it would not be an exaggeration to call him a god. Immortal golden body, golden blood, yin-yang eyes, if it weren't for his experience along the way, Han Fei would feel that he was a mythical figure. Because Jing said that if the distance was too far, even if she rushed over at the fastest speed, it would take more than half an hour. There would definitely be Exalt Realm greater demons guarding the Saint Domain. What if an advanced venerable or peak-level venerable appeared? No matter how conceited Han Fei was, he would still be caught by them. Han Fei said, You'd better come with me through the teleportation array. Jing wondered, what teleportation array? Han Fei said, During this investigation, I found a directional teleportation array that can take us to a magical secret realm near the Wall of Death. Hearing this, Jing nodded. She could take this opportunity to see what the yin-yang heaven looked like with Han Fei. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and demonic energy surged on his body. Like a burst of light, 100-meter-long array appeared in midair. This array was exactly the same as the giant teleportation array that Han Fei had just seen when he searched Han Fei's soul. The venerables of the Myriad Demon Valley would never have thought that they would be so secretive that even the teleportation formation had been completely replicated. Jing looked at the teleportation formation and couldn't help but say, Looks like it is indeed very far. This teleportation formation consumes quite a lot of energy. Shuemu Sky was a place filled with teleportation arrays. Jing was already used to all kinds of teleportation arrays. However, the furthest teleportation array in the Shuemu Sky didn't even cross 500,000 miles. Even teleportation arrays that crossed 100,000 miles were pitifully rare. This was because the longer the distance, the more spirit chi the teleportation array required. Under normal circumstances, it was not necessary. Han Fei and Jing entered the teleportation array one after another. Swoosh! The moment Han Fei appeared, he saw thick fog around him. Having no time to observe, Han Fei stomped and a defensive barrier appeared around him. As he opened his mouth wide and used the devouring technique, he immediately swallowed the demonic chi and energy that he sent over. As for the spatial fluctuations, Jing waved her hand, and they immediately disappeared. Jing said, The disadvantage of the teleportation array is that there will already be spatial fluctuations before we come over. Someone noticed this. Let's leave first. Jing grabbed Han Fei, took a step, and appeared thousands of miles away. Immediately afterward, the fog covered them, and no one could find their traces anymore. About 20 minutes after Han Fei and Jing left, a figure swept out from the void. Huh! The sea demon Venerable looked around and murmured, "Did I sense it wrong?" Han Fei, who had avoided the sea demon Venerable's pursuit, began to swim in the black fog again, and Jing held the attitude of watching a show again and didn't intervene. The reason why he took Jing with him was just in case. Otherwise, with such a strong master by his side, what was the difference between having nothing and not having anything? In just over half an hour, Han Fei, who was slowly swimming on the bottom of the sea, found the huge crack. However, to Han Fei's surprise, he found that this huge crack was actually created on the restriction of the Wall of Death. F***ck, is the so-called Saint Realm really inside the Wall of Death? Han Fei frowned slightly. From Yu-Fei's memory, it might be because Yu-Fei's strength was limited. Therefore, he didn't recognize the existence of the invisible restriction of the Wall of Death at all. After all, to the outside world, this huge crack looked like a crack that extended from the sky to the ground. As for why there was this crack, and what was behind the crack, they might think about it, but they probably wouldn't get the answer. At this moment, Han Fei found another venerable sitting next to the crack. This person had 3 large spears erected on his back, which looked like 3 black bones, which should be related to his body. The old turtle said, "An advanced venerable, it seems that you have found the place." But Han Fei didn't feel happy because he had found the place, which meant that there were still many people undergoing trials here. It also meant that this place was continuously providing Sea Demon Realm troops for the 10,000 Demon Valley. The crack shook, and Han Fei saw a half-mermaid walk out of it. Judging from its strength, it had just entered the Sea Demon Realm. The half-mermaid, seeing the Venerable, immediately said respectfully, "Greetings, Venerable Mo. Okay. Go 1,000 miles to the west and wait there." "Yes, my lord." The half-mermaid immediately responded, lowered his head, and went west. Hearing this, Han Fei followed quietly. After a while, finally, 1,000 miles away, in a place blocked by an invisible restriction, the fog and the storm couldn't blow here. At a glance, Han Fei found that there were more than 800 half-mermaids in the Sea Demon Realm and 16 half-mermaids who had just entered the Sea Spirit Realm. In front of this group of people was a familiar face. Han Fei had seen it from Yu-Fei's memory. Wasn't this the silver spear that had been suppressed under the 10,000 Demon Valley for more than 1,800 years? After taking a look, the old turtle said, "I just entered the middle-level Venerable Realm." Looking at these more than 800 half-mermaids who were consolidating their strength, Han Fei said coldly, "I want to go in." The old turtle couldn't help but say, "What can you do in there? Fight hundreds of thousands of people alone?" Han Fei sneered. "Just because I want to go in doesn't mean I have to kill the enemy. Only after I go in will I know what's going on and how the Scattered Stars Island should deal with it." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. He was also curious about what the hell that big snail was. If its essence blood could help ordinary sea demons quickly improve their realm, it would be fine. However, Dao-seeking state demons like Blue Feather could also go in to improve their strength. Even Blue Feather had become a venerable, and Qixue Huan had to go through a tribulation and break a restriction. Ignoring the hundreds of people on Silver Spear's side, Han Fei returned to the crack again. As the saying went, cut the weeds and eliminate the root. The road to becoming a king was not to solve all the problems by himself. Wouldn't he die of exhaustion? Under the cover of the night and the fog, Han Fei had been hiding next to the crack. If he went in rashly, he would cause the space to shake. The Venerable was not a fool and would definitely find something wrong. According to the ratio of the number of sea demons, at least a few people would come out of the Saint Realm every day. If they couldn't reach this level, the Scattered Stars Island wouldn't be afraid of them. It was impossible for the 10,000 Demon Valley to train 50,000 sea demons in just a few years. Sure enough, after staring at it for about 4 hours, the pitch-black crevice began to tremble, and 3 people emerged from it one after another. Han Fei took the opportunity to brush past the three of them and slipped into the so-called Saint Realm in a mist. Perhaps the venerable sea demon was used to seeing people coming out of it, so he didn't pay attention to these people and was still cultivating, so he didn't notice them. Swish, the scene in front of him changed, and Han Fei felt more than 10 times the gravity. Such a little gravity had almost no effect on him now. The world in front of him was a seabed reef area, and most of the reefs were covered by seaweeds and sea anemones. At a glance, Han Fei saw a big green snail, which was gnawing on a piece of broad-leaved seaweed that was tens of meters long. However, what made him a little speechless was that this guy had 3 snails. Han Fei was stunned. He had heard of Hydra and 9-tailed fox, but he had never heard of a 3-headed conch. This creature had really refreshed his worldview. Han Fei was surprised. "I'm eating it. I thought these big snails relied on photosynthesis." Han Fei naturally wouldn't take a green conch seriously. He stepped to the side of the conch, and information popped up in his eyes. Name: 3-layered demon snail. Introduction: a unique green conch in the snail kill sea, which mutated and turned into a demon snail because of the corrosive blood of a king realm creature. This snail has 3 abilities: soul-sucking, blood-sucking, and spirit-swallowing. It has extremely strong defensive power. It needs to be killed quickly. Level 58 quality, rare, contains spiritual energy greater than 15,924 points. Effect: eating its corrosive blood will easily mutate your body and awaken your bloodline. Collectible: corrosive blood, unabsorbable. Note: the corrosive blood can corrode the foundation of the spiritual heritage and can't be eaten lightly. When he saw this information, Han Fei's pupils constricted. Contaminated by the corrosive blood of a king realm creature? No wonder these sea demons could grow so fast. It turned out that they all ate the blood of a king realm creature and improved their strength so quickly. Son of AB*TC, Han Fei cursed in his heart. The king of the sea demon King City is really desperate. He can do anything to destroy the human race. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that there was a force trying to pull him, and then he saw that the 3-layered demon snail, with a big shell with a green shell and a pointed cone, was sucking crazily at him. Han Fei slapped it down and smashed it into pieces. "What the F***ck are you sucking? Don't you know what level you are? Why are you sucking me?" The old turtle couldn't help but ask, "Why are you angry at a conch?" Han Fei said fiercely, "Because it is no longer a pure conch." Chapter 14:23. The big conch was smashed into pieces by Han Fei. Han Fei reached out and a drop of blood with a gurgling sound appeared in front of him. Han Fei frowned. This drop of blood was dark green, very different from normal red blood. Not only did it have a refreshing fragrance, but there was also a roar in the blood, like the sound of a heart beating, which made people recognize it at once. When Han Fei picked up this drop of blood, this drop of dark green blood still wanted to stick to Han Fei's skin. However, because he knew that this was corrosive blood, Han Fei certainly wouldn't let it succeed. Han Fei reached out and grabbed a mass of water vapor, which wrapped the drop of blood tightly. Han Fei asked, "Old Yuan, do you recognize what this is?" The old turtle was speechless. "Do you think I'm omnipotent? I'm not a god. This is just a drop of dark green essence blood. In this boundless blue sea, there are at least 80,000 if not 100,000. How am I supposed to guess?" Wait. As soon as the old turtle finished complaining, he suddenly said, "Something's wrong. This drop of blood contains surging blood chi. Such surging blood chi is simply a great tonic for those sea demons in the demonization realm. It's no wonder that their strength has increased." Han Fei said leisurely, "So?" The old tortoise pondered and said, "To achieve this effect, one would need the blood of a half-venerable realm great monster at the very least." Han Fei said leisurely again, "But the 10,000 Demon Valley has created 50,000 sea demons and half-mermaids. As far as I can tell, there are more than 1,000 sea demons and half-mermaids here. The number of these big conches is even more than the number of people. The old turtle was stunned. After a while, he said, "Why don't you hunt a random conch and see?" With a thought, a fishing hook appeared in Han Fei's hand and he threw it casually. The hook, like an arrow, pierced through the void and instantly caught a big conch 10 kilometers away. Crack, what's going on with this big conch? It felt that it had been caught in an instant. Then, there was nothing else. The moment the conch appeared, Han Fei slapped it down and smashed it into pieces. He didn't know when it started, but when he looked at these creatures again, he suddenly felt that he was looking at ants. Han Fei felt that as long as he thought about it, they could live and die at his will. He just killed 2 snails casually, so he didn't take it seriously at all. Both he and the old turtle's eyes were attracted by a drop of dark green blood that was exactly the same as the old turtle's. When he saw this drop of blood, Han Fei said, "It seems that every one of them has it." The old tortoise paused for a moment before saying, "Why don't you try catching another one? Catch it from a distance." Whoosh, 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 Han Fei cast his fishing hook 100 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers, and even 3,000 kilometers away, and caught a sea spirit state conch. In just a moment, there were already 6 drops of dark green blood essence in Han Fei's hand. Among them, the sea spirit realm conch's blood essence contained blood qi that was much richer than the other drops of blood qi. Until this moment, the old turtle said leisurely, "You seem to be in big trouble." Han Fei said lightly, "Looking at these blood beads, they should all come from the same person. And this sea demon's secret realm is enough for hundreds of thousands or even millions of people to hunt and grow. This means that there may be as many as millions of such blood essences." The old turtle grunted. "No one under the king level can do this, unless they are evil cultivators who specialize in this Tao. Just like the blood pool you saw last time, the evil cultivators in the Blood Sea Divine Wood City. These people are actually the same." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. "Evil cultivators?" The old turtle said, "I can almost be sure that all the big conches here are used by some evil cultivator king to absorb some kind of power. Although these big conches are still alive, they won't live long. Whether there are these sea demons or not, their lifespan is definitely no more than 100 years. Han Fei took a breath and said, "What if they eat them?" The old turtle sneered. "This kind of blood is a life-threatening thing. It may stimulate one's potential for a while, and greatly increase one's strength. But that, all at the cost of one's own potential and lifespan. This kind of reckless exploitation and use of one's own potential will inevitably lead to a crazy reduction of one's lifespan. The faster one cultivates, the faster one dies." "Who?" Han Fei suddenly said. "The king absorbs some of the power of these people, but how can he take it back? Even if this blood is not a good thing, can the king withstand millions of them?" The old turtle said solemnly, "You underestimated the king, didn't you? The Life Queen can nurture a drop of the spring of life at most for a few years. But a drop of the spring of life can even increase a venerable's lifespan by decades. An explorer can increase their lifespan by at least 100 years. Anyone below the explorer level can easily increase their lifespan by 100 years. What do you think now?" "Hiss." Han Fei took a deep breath. "Damn it. If that's the case, it's more interesting. Let's assume that this so-called Saint Realm had been operating for many years. Then, it would only take a little time for a king to create such a secret realm." The old turtle continued, "As for what you said, how can this power be taken back? This way is much easier. For example, the technique that Yu Wendao gave you back then. Through sacrifice you can ignore the spatial distance. Also, if this evil technique is the power of the great path of the king, then he can recover this power. The so-called seal generally can't seal the power of the great path, unless you deliberately seal this power. However, you can seal 1, 2, but can you seal thousands of places?" Han Fei twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "According to what you said, isn't the power of the king a bit too great? Are all the kings in the world so strong? The old turtle said disdainfully, What do you think? All the people below the king are ants. Only when you enter the king's realm can you know what real power is. At least, in your barren land, the king's realm is still extremely powerful. Hearing what the old turtle said, Han Fei thought that the old turtle seemed to look down on the king's realm. But if all the people below the king were ants, it was like what Luo Xiaobai experienced in the ideal palace. Han Fei had already learned from the information that this was the king's corrosive blood. The reason why he chatted with the old turtle was that he wanted to know if this king had a purpose. At this moment, Han Fei had an idea. The Sea Demon King City probably wouldn't come here for the time being. If he could come here, he wouldn't have to attack his millions of sea demons. If he really could come here, he would have come here early in the morning. With this evil technique, hundreds of millions of humans would suffer. At this moment, the so-called opening of the Saint Realm only required him to consume some power. What was the purpose of this power? Han Fei didn't know, but there were only a few possibilities. First, he wanted to come here, but he couldn't. Therefore, he needed a medium and some sea demons needed to be sacrificed. While sacrificing the sea demons, he could also improve his strength, and maybe he could also kill the human race. Second, he was at a critical moment of cultivation and needed power to support him to make a breakthrough. Maybe there was a fourth, however. No matter how many there were, Han Fei was only interested in whether he could come here or not. Once this kind of evil king came, people would be plunged into misery and suffering. Just as Han Fei was chatting with the old turtle and thinking about the problem, he suddenly discovered that something was wrong. Around him, at least 7 sea demons and 2 sea spirits were rushing in his direction. Han Fei frowned slightly. What's the meaning of this? How could these small fries find him? If it wasn't because they found him, then they must have sensed the corrosive blood. After all, Han Fei had a small mass of corrosive blood in his hand. For these sea demons who were eager to improve their strength, it was definitely a treasure. However, in Han Fei's perception, there were actually a lot of sea demons around. Many of them didn't cover up the traces of battle. Because there were too many third-layer demon conches here, there was no need to cover up. However, only 9 people were attracted here. Didn't the other sea demons discover them? Han Fei immediately discovered the problem. Relatively speaking, the strength of these 9 sea demons was the strongest among the sea demons around. They were all sea demons who were about to make a breakthrough but were not ready to go out. About half an hour later, 3 beginner half-mermaids in the sea demon realm rushed over first. Han Fei was still in his black mist body, not his real body. When the 3 of them came over, they were stunned to see a mass of blood essence floating in the seawater. Someone was surprised. Why is there no one here? Someone suddenly said warily, Could it be a bait? Since this person can get such a large mass of blood essence, he can't just leave it here. As soon as this was said, the 3 of them immediately became vigilant and even fused with their associate spirits. After repeatedly confirming that there was no danger here, the 3 of them came to Han Fei, who had been waiting for a long time. Swish, swish, swish. As soon as the void lines appeared, all 3 of them were hit and almost all of them were dead. Han Fei controlled the souls of the 3 of them and suddenly felt a power trying to drill into his soul through the void lines. Bam! 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 Han Fei frowned and controlled the internal organs of the 3 to explode. Taking back the void lines, Han Fei grabbed a total of 5 drops of corrosive blood from the 3 of them. Humph! You want to pollute this young master? You're the F*** king first. There were only 2 people in the second wave, one of whom was a beginner sea spirit and the other an intermediate sea demon. This time, they didn't even see the few drops of corrosive blood that Han Fei controlled and were killed on the spot. Just like the last time, the corrosive blood tried to pollute Han Fei. However, the result was obvious. When Han Fei collected a small mass of corrosive blood in his hand, suddenly, he perceived that more than 100 people were rushing towards him. Han Fei frowned slightly. Is it because I have more corrosive blood in my hand so I can sense more people? First, asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1424. More and more sea demons were attracted by the corrosive blood in Han Fei's hand, and came one after another. It seemed that if Han Fei was a little weaker, he would run away. When these sea demons rushed to where Han Fei was, their eyes were scarlet, their bodies were surging with demonic energy, and they were even ready to attack. However, what they could see was just a mass of corrosive blood. Some people didn't care about anything else. How many big conches did he have to kill to get such a mass of corrosive blood? Immediately, someone reached out to grab it. Bam! Someone had just rushed within 100 meters of Han Fei and exploded to death, not even knowing how he died, and Han Fei was still observing. He wanted to see how attractive this corrosive blood was to these sea demons. Sure enough, almost all the sea demons couldn't help it when they saw such a large mass of corrosive blood. They were about to rush at Han Fei as if they had smoked a lot of cigarettes. Bam, bam, bam! Such brilliant fireworks had already exploded dozens of times. From beginning to end, Han Fei didn't even move. He just set up a few killing arrays. In less than half an hour, Han Fei had killed more than 100 sea demons. Most of them walked right into the trap. But there were 3 sea spirit state half-mermaid. Maybe they were stronger and had better self-control. Although the corrosive blood was attractive enough, they still resisted, feeling that such a large amount of corrosive blood couldn't appear here out of thin air for no reason. Of course, they couldn't leave even if they wanted to. When they thought of this, they had already been controlled by Han Fei's void lines. In just half an hour, the corrosive blood in Han Fei's hand had increased several times. To Han Fei's surprise, as this mass of corrosive blood gathered, the power it could emit was also greater. The surging blood attracted the seawater within hundreds of kilometers around. The ocean currents trembled slightly from time to time. Huh! Han Fei was suspicious. Old Yuan, do you think this blood has spirituality? It is trying to break through my seal. The old turtle said, I don't know if this blood has spirituality or not. However, the great Tao power in the blood seemed to be gathering. I can't tell if it's just 1 or 2 drops, but if there's a lot of it, the blood energy it can unleash will be very powerful. Han Fei asked, what will happen if too much power of the Great Path is gathered? The old turtle pondered for a moment. Don't worry, the king won't be able to come over. However, it was entirely possible for a projection to descend. Blood essence was only a type of energy. Without the support of the main body, even if all the blood essence in this secret realm converges, the projection of the monarch will eventually disappear in battle. So, it's still possible for the king to arrive through this blood essence? Even if it's a projection, it's the projection of a king? No. The old turtle retorted, you can't say that. The projection of a king didn't mean that he had the strength of a king. I'm afraid this world of yours can't tolerate existences at the king realm. Even if he can make it, can he leave this mystic realm? Han Fei immediately grinned. That makes sense. The Yin-Yang heaven was being watched by the eye of the heavenly path. Ren Tianfei had warned him with the fish skin picture when he was in the level 3 fishery. What if the sea demon king could ignore the eye of the heavenly path? Then the Yin-Yang heaven would have been destroyed long ago. Why wait until now? Han Fei's heart suddenly stirred. He felt that there was a force attracting him in the distance, and the ball of corrosive blood in his hand could feel that force like a magnet. It was indeed a kind of attraction, which could be observed through the blood flow of this blood essence. Scanning with his perception, Han Fei found that there was no abnormality within 8,000 kilometers. At most, there were some scattered half-mermaids hunting and fighting fiercely with the big conches. He had to admit that the restriction power of this so-called sea demon Holy Land was really too low, not like that kind of dangerous secret realm at all. His perception was completely unrestricted, and he could directly sweep more than 8,000 kilometers. Han Fei flew away. These sea demons were too scattered. If he killed them one by one, it would be a waste of time, and he couldn't solve the fundamental problem. Even if these hundreds of thousands of sea demons were scattered, he could still kill them. But what if the more than 3 million ordinary half-mermaids of the Blood Sea Valley came over? Would he have to kill them again? Therefore, when the corrosive blood acted strangely, Han Fei's first thought was to find the source and kill it. A king-level creature was sealed in the Wall of Death, so there must be a guide for it to interfere with the internal affairs of the Yin-Yang heaven, right? After a while, Han Fei had passed 10,000 kilometers. At this moment, Han Fei was flying over a sea of sand. There were different kinds of big conches here. The big conches here were called sand demon conches, and their strength was generally at the peak level of sea demons, or even sea spirits. Because of this, the number of sea demons near this area had decreased. Han Fei killed 2 at random and found that the corrosive blood was the same, except that it was more bloody than the ones he killed before. After another 6,000 kilometers, Han Fei passed a sea anemone tentacle area, a coral area, and a mudflat. It was worth mentioning that the big conches in this mudflat were called snake conches. There were big snakes drilling in the conches, and the conch shell was buried in the soil. It looked like the 10,000 snake cave, which was extremely creepy. A world full of strange conches? Han Fei couldn't help but exclaim, "It turns out that conches can look like this." As he walked, Han Fei collected more and more corrosive blood in his hands. He killed one here and one there. Along the way, Han Fei killed as many as 200 strange conches. Han Fei felt that the corrosive blood in his hands was enough for him to further improve his strength as an explorer. Of course, the premise was that this explorer had to eat it. After a while, Han Fei saw some strange conches with transparent shells floating in the water like jellyfish in the pitch-black sea. Suddenly, 3 figures appeared in Han Fei's perception. Qin Yanning, Halve Chongfeng, and Hai Xinlan? Coincidentally, Han Fei knew all 3 of them. They were the only 3 remaining members of the 8 Wings of Blue Feather. In the Battle of the Sea of Pearls, Han Fei didn't see these people. He thought they had already died. He didn't expect to see them here. At this moment, the 3 of them were sitting opposite each other in a triangle. In the middle of the 3 of them there was a big dark green cocoon which was vibrating. The 3 of them seemed to be holding some kind of ritual. Han Fei's face slightly changed. Except for Qin Yanning, who was a Dao Seeker, Halve Chongfeng and Hai Xinlan had both reached the Dao Seeker state. Also, Qin Yanning had reached the advanced Dao Seeker state. Halve Chongfeng and Hai Xinlan were also in the intermediate Dao Seeker state. The 3 of them had grown so fast. It was obvious that they had gained a lot of benefits in the so-called Saint Realm. Han Fei quickly approached them. With his strength, they wouldn't notice him even if he was within 100 meters of them. With that in mind, Han Fei forcibly sealed the aura of the corrosive blood in his hands and approached the 3 of them. Han Fei scanned with his senses and found that there seemed to be people in the big cocoon. Not good. Those bastards must be up to no good. Han Fei's first reaction was to kill these people and stop the weird ritual they were performing. However, the old turtle suddenly roared, "Not good! We've been tricked! Retreat!" Han Fei was dumbfounded. "I've been hiding very well all the way here. When did I get tricked?" Of course, Han Fei chose to retreat without hesitation. Although the old turtle was almost the same as a useless turtle, its life level was still different after all. Hum. Dark green walls rose in all directions. Even with Han Fei's speed, he couldn't be faster than these walls. Star shift. The speed of this light array was as fast as the hexagon starfish's 6-gate array. However, the star shift technique was designed to break such arrays, so Han Fei didn't panic. Bam! Boom! Boom! But when Han Fei was about to twist the space, the large mass of corrosive blood in his hand exploded with a boom. The terrifying power directly blew up the twisted space. Han Fei was blown 1,000 meters away and missed the opportunity to escape. At that moment, Han Fei felt that 10,000 times the gravity instantly pressed on him, making him sink to the bottom of the sea. Kill him! Qin Yin, Halve Chongfeng, and Hai Xinlan had already attacked. Whither? Sea King God Shattering Strike. Water Entanglement Technique. The attacks of these three people fell on Han Fei in an instant. Han Fei was extremely shocked. By logic, these three people couldn't even see him, let alone attack him. However, although it was unexpected, Qian Ying's law of time hadn't risen to the level of a law and couldn't shake him at all. The power of time was directly absorbed by the time ring. Halve Chongfeng used his horn as a thorn and launched a terrifying attack at Han Fei's soul. Even under the 10,000 times the gravity, Han Fei still stabbed back and launched the god-stunning spike. Gotcha! With a boom, the sound of his soul shattering came over. How could Halve Chongfeng, who was only an intermediate Tao-seeking state cultivator, resist the god-stunning spike? Now Han Fei could slap Halve Chongfeng to death with one hand. Trying to kill him with a mental attack? He must be dreaming. Halve Chongfeng's head exploded in an instant, and Qian Yin and Hai Xinlan hurriedly retreated in fear. Qian Yin roared, "Not good! This man's strength is beyond our imagination. My time technique is completely useless." While retreating, Hai Xinlan put her hands together. Han Fei felt that the seawater around him turned into spears and sprinted at him crazily. Clang, clang, clang. While the two of them were still in shock, Han Fei transformed into a humanoid shadow and said with a smile, "What? You've spent so much effort to tie me up, but this is all you've got?" Second update. Please vote end of this chapter. Chapter 1425. Qian Yin and Hai Xinlan couldn't see Han Fei at all. Even though Han Fei had turned into a human, they could only sense that there seemed to be someone not far away from them through the flow of the seawater. However, no matter how they observed with their naked eyes, there was no one, even though the person was already standing in front of them. Also, through the wave of attacks just now, the two of them knew that this was something that they couldn't deal with at all. The two of them didn't care about Halve Chongfeng's remains at all. They began to retreat as fast as they could. Fortunately, there was 10,000 times the gravity in this place. Otherwise, they wouldn't know how to run away. Ho! Suddenly, a dragon roar seemed to explode. The terrifying roar was none other than the 100-beast soul-suppressing roar. Under the roar, the two of them bled from all their orifices. Their heads dizzy, they simply fell to the bottom of the sea. Before the two of them could react, the void lines had already taken control of them. The moment Han Fei controlled them, he suddenly felt that a powerful force was trying to find him through the void lines. Humph! Han Fei immediately released the void lines. 10,000 knives in one. Han Fei raised his hand. The infinity water ignored gravity and swept Qian Yin and Hai Xinlan in the blink of an eye. Pooh! 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 In the blink of an eye, the two of them were minced into pieces and were on the verge of death. It would only take 1 second for Han Fei to mince the two of them. However, something that slightly shocked Han Fei happened. 3 explosions rang out and Qian Yin, Hai Xinlan, and Halve Chongfeng, who had already perished, were all reduced to dust. It was different from self-detonation. The self-detonation of an advanced Tao-seeking state expert could only be described as terrifying. It was no less powerful than a sweep of his million-knife art. However, the three of them didn't self-detonate at all. They were blown into pieces. At this moment, the souls and flesh of the three people were all swallowed by the dark green cocoon in Han Fei's eyes. In the seawater, a heavy voice suddenly spread out. "Oh, you're not a sea demon, are you? I smell the scent of human beings." Hiss! Han Fei didn't respond. Snowmorn appeared in his hand. He struck with all his might. The sword-drawing technique unleashed a peerless sword energy that swept towards the cocoon. Layers of formless shells appeared in front of the cocoon. Crack, crack, crack. After breaking 32 invisible carapace barriers in a row, Han Fei's blow was forcibly blocked. Eh? The cocoon was confused and asked in surprise, "A human venerable one? No, you are not a venerable one. If a venerable enters this realm, I will definitely know. It seems that you are still an explorer." Han Fei still didn't respond but said in his heart, "Old Yuan, didn't you say that kings can't come here? What's going on?" The old tortoise said leisurely, "Why are you panicking? If it could come over, it would have done so a long time ago. What the hell is this now? Why don't you test him first?" Han Fei finally said, "Oh? According to your tone, you're the king of Sea Demon King City?" The cocoon was silent for 2 seconds. "You're not panicking at all? Are you aware that you have a way out of this prince's hands?" Han Fei grinned. "It's not up to you whether I have a way out or not. If your true self is here, I'll admit defeat. The question is your true self here? Come out of this cocoon if you can." This was not the first time that Han Fei had faced a king. When he was with the Life Queen, there was no awkwardness or fear, and he even challenged the White Armor Emperor. He almost thought that he was on equal footing with them. Now, he hadn't even seen the evil king's face, and the other party had already sent a cannon fodder to attack him? It wouldn't even be enough for him to slap it. The only thing he was a bit uncertain about was the big cocoon in front of him. Han Fei bet that it was just a projection at most. Today's Han Fei was no longer the hanging fisher boy when Xia Shaochan was taken away. Now, with Han Fei's venerable combat power, even if the projection of Chun Huangdian arrived, he would dare to fight. Besides, this was the evil king who had been sealed in the wall of death for tens of thousands of years. The big cocoon, after hearing Han Fei's words, began to shake slightly. Bam! 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 Han Fei subconsciously pinched his fingers and used the heavenly fortune technique. It seemed that this big cocoon was indeed a threat to him. In his heart, the old turtle shouted, "Let's try to break this seal." All the conches within 10,000 kilometers are collapsing. A tremendous amount of blood essence is gathering. Unlike Han Fei, this evil king might be able to block Han Fei's perception through the seals set up by Qianyan Ying and the other two. However, he had never thought that there would be an ancient turtle in Han Fei's body. Its soul realm was even higher than that of a king. As soon as the big cocoon made a move, the old turtle had already noticed it. Han Fei's perception scanned the seal. If he guessed right, this evil king's technique was a bit similar to Master Hexagon's six-gate formation. It was extremely fast and had extremely high defense. Why didn't he try to break through it? He might as well try to see if he could kill this big cocoon. In the seawater, a cloud of white mist emerged out of thin air, which was exactly Han Fei's white mist body hidden in Forge the Universe. However, after the white mist body appeared, Han Fei didn't choose to merge with it. The white mist body turned into a human, stretched out his hand, and the embroidery needle appeared in his hand. The black and white figures, one holding Snowmorn and the other the embroidery needle. With the two sea-quelling bizarre treasures in hand, the big cocoon shook even more violently. Two sea-quelling bizarre treasures? It seems that you have an extraordinary position in the human race. You're only an explorer, but you can also unleash the combat power of a venerable? If you're not the highest commander of the Scattered Stars Island, you must be a member of a top clan in the Thousand Star City. The people of the Chu sect won't come here. The Chow family. Are you from the Chow family? F***CKU. Han Fei thought to himself, this king knows the Thousand Star City. It seems that he has dealt with these families before. In that case, Han Fei had an idea. He activated the swallowing technique and swallowed all the energy around him. Beast King technique. Sword drawing technique. Monkey King 3000 strikes. 10,000 knives in one. In an instant, Han Fei burst out. If he hadn't heard the old turtle's words, Han Fei wouldn't have believed it. It was just a projection, and it was a big cocoon made by 3 Tao-seeking state cultivators. How strong could it be? Han Fei stepped out, and the law of gravity descended, directly offsetting 70% to 80% of the gravity. The big cocoon was surprised again. It's really the Chow family's swallowing technique, but you're trying to block my way with the power of law? Boy, are you looking for death? Crack! Bm. Han Fei felt that the law of gravity around him was crushed in an instant. Han Fei's muscles tightened, and he activated the Tao seed. This place has a restrictive spell. Swish! Han Fei felt that the 10,000 times gravity disappeared in an instant. How is it possible? The big cocoon trembled wildly, trying to cast another spell. However, Han Fei had already used the sword-drawing technique, and a tornado-like stream of knives that was 100 meters long swept over. The invisible barrier was propped up again, and with a cracking sound, the layers of shields were broken. In an instant, more than 50 layers had been broken. Han Fei could feel that the dark green color on the big cocoon was fading and becoming lighter. Han Fei couldn't help but sneer. I told you, you want to keep me here? Unless you come with your true body. Otherwise, who do you think you are? Bam! 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 In the hands of the white fog, the Monkey King's 3,000 strikes smashed down crazily. In the hands of the black fog, 2 hammers appeared, and the 100 battles hammer was launched. Dum, 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 clang, clang, clang. Han Fei didn't use any spells. He only used his body, and his strength was still terrifying. In terms of strength alone, it was no problem for him to tear a junior venerable apart. The big cocoon was broken layer by layer. In just a few seconds, the invisible armor was broken 100 times. Dozens of cracks appeared on the big cocoon. The big cocoon no longer spoke. At this moment, corrosive blood was gathering crazily from all directions. Clang, clang, clang. After a round of 100 battles hammer strikes, the dark green cocoon was already covered with cracks, and its surface had become dim. And the Monkey King's 3,000 strikes hadn't stopped. Han Fei had already hit 500 times with the 3,000 overlapping wave. Gotcha! Suddenly, the big cocoon was smashed open by Han Fei. In this hole, a big black conch appeared in front of Han Fei. But this big conch was different from all the conches that Han Fei had seen before. This big conch had a total of 6 layers of spiral rings, and each layer had 24 sharp blades that looked like bone spurs. They were extremely shiny and looked like blades that had just been consecrated. In Han Fei's eyes, information emerged. Name: Black Killer Conch King, weak. Introduction: an ancient creature that has slept for millions of years and been tempered by heaven and earth. It has obtained the Black Killer Conch armor with amazing defense. It can cut all kinds of strange crystals. This conch doesn't have a real body, so it's impossible to get complete information. Level 85 quality, ancient fierce beast. Truth? Contains demonic chi? Point: effect: it can greatly enhance chi and blood and mutate the body. Collectible: none absorbable. Remarks: as soon as he saw this information, Han Fei immediately breathed a sigh of relief. It was indeed a projection. Although it was a projection of an intermediate venerable, it was probably because the ritual just now hadn't been completed, or the person who held the ritual was too weak, or maybe he had just hit it. Anyway, even if it was just a projection, it was still very strong. Han Fei didn't think he could beat it. Han Fei rushed to the edge of the seal and launched the sacrificing punch, intending to rush out of the array. The Black Killer Conch King chuckled and said, "Well, you're right. I can't come here in person, but this saint land was created by me. I can seal all creatures and spiritual energy here. How can you escape?" The 3rd chapter. I only need your monthly vote. Come on. Give it to me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1426. Rumble. Under the impact of such a high speed, although Han Fei's sacrificing punch didn't break the seal, it still made the seal dim. The surface of the seal was covered with fine cracks. But even in this state, Han Fei didn't merge the two into one. After all, once he fused with the two of them, who would he cry to if the other party killed him all at once? Han Fei roared, "Explode!" The infinity water suddenly exploded. A terrifying power swept through the entire seal. Outside the seal, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. The tremors continued for thousands of miles, and the seabed even sunk several dozen meters deep. Gotcha! With the sound of glass shattering, the dark green seal was directly blown up by Han Fei. The Black Snail King let out a cry of surprise, as if it had not expected that its seal would be broken so easily. Although this seal was not personally placed by him, it was still his own power. How could it be broken so easily? Besides, what made the Black Killer Snail King speechless was that Han Fei didn't break its seal with any magical technique, but with pure strength. What kind of physique could possess such terrifying power? The Black Killer Snail King thought that in terms of pure strength, the person in front of him was at least a high-level venerable. This was something that made no sense at all. On the path of cultivation, although there were differences between cultivators of the same realm, how could there be such a huge gap between realms? The Black Killer Snail King's heart trembled as he shouted, "You're walking on the path of becoming a king with your body?" Han Fei had no time to deal with the Black Killer Snail King. No matter what, it was a king realm expert. Even if it was only a projection, it still possessed the strength of a mid-rank Exalt realm expert. Moreover, this intermediate Exalt was different from other intermediate Exalted realm expert. His true self was a king-level entity. It was like lowering his realm to the sea spirit realm. Although he was a sea spirit, he had seen the scenery of the Explorer realm and knew the abilities of the Explorer realm. This kind of knowledge was the greatest gap between the enemy and himself. Even if Han Fei could give it a try, this battle was really unnecessary. What was the point of fighting to the death? He was fighting with his life, while the other party was using a projection. It would not be worth it if he were to fight against them like a fool. Just now, the Black Killer Snail King said that this was a secret realm created by him. It could be said that the millions of snails here were all his energy. Everything here could be used by the Black Killer Snail King. When the old turtle said that the sea snails were dying in batches, and when Han Fei saw the corrosive blood swarming towards him, he knew that it was all true. Not only was the other party's realm and strength high, but it was also inexhaustible. If it was someone else, even if that person was a high-level venerable who was more powerful than the Black Killer King's projection, they would not be able to escape from this world. Exclamation point. While running, Han Fei tried to absorb the energy around him with the swallowing technique. Of course he couldn't. The projection of the Black Killer Snail King descended, and Han Fei's perception range was reduced from 8,000 kilometers to a distance that he could only control with his vision. Fortunately, Han Fei knew where he came from, and the white mist knew where he should run. However, at this moment, the Black Killer Snail King was not slow at all. It was a mid-level venerable and a projection of a king-level powerhouse. It would be ridiculous if it was slow. Of course, the Black Killer Snail King was also dumbfounded. What the hell? Could a peak-level explorer be so fast? This person was so fast that he ran into the illusion. This was a speed domain that only a king-level powerhouse could master. This guy was just an explorer. How did he do it? The Black Killer Snail King said, "In my world, the Chow family's swallowing technique is useless. Everything here was created by this king. Offer your body to this king, and this king can spare your life." Swoosh! Swoosh! The Gemini bodies immediately fled in two directions. The White Killer Snail King cursed, "Who do you think you are? You're just a king-level powerhouse who can't come out. How dare you try to subdue me with a projection?" In an instant, the Gemini bodies had already split up. They simply ran blindly and didn't go in the direction of the exit. An incarnation? The Black Killer Snail King sneered. "So, it's just a battle technique. In my Saint realm, Even if you have thousands of clones, what can you do? Do you think I can't do that? When Han Fei passed by some big conches, these big conches died inexplicably. He clearly sensed vitality, soul, corrosive blood, and there seemed to be some special power in them. These powers were quickly fusing, and a new black killer snail king was born. Han Fei bared his teeth. That's too much. At this rate, wouldn't he, the black killer snail king, have as many clones as he wanted? The old tortoise said, I think you can fight. You have a lot of resources on you. If you fight a war of attrition, the space he created will collapse. Han Fei didn't stop. I know it from the power he showed. However, those are the resources that I worked hard to get. Why should I waste them here? What Han Fei was really scared of was not the strength of the Black Killer Snail King, but the ability of a king. Moreover, in his opinion, fighting this battle was not worth it at all. Therefore, Han Fei didn't want to fight if he could. But soon after the old turtle made the suggestion, Han Fei saw two dark green barriers blocking his way. Not only that, in front of the two barriers, there were two projections of the Black Killer Snail King. Shoot! Are they serious? 4 projections? The old turtle said, they're not projections. He's extracting the power of those demon conches. The clones he created with their power and the blood essence he set up. Every clone needs a lot of vitality, energy, demonic chi, and ownerless souls. But how should I put it? At least, you can't run away in a short time. Han Fei's face was dark. The appearance of the 4 black killer snail kings meant that they had made up their minds to kill him. But how could Han Fei be convinced? He had gone through so many difficulties and finally died in the hands of a mere projection. How could he be convinced? I hate projections. You kings always think you're high above and regard others as ants. Do you think you can change the outcome of the battle with a projection? Today, I'm going to fight you, the so-called king. Ho! Han Fei launched an attack. The white mist suddenly pulled out Snowmorn. For a moment, everything in its path was frozen. The white mist was extremely cold, and with Snowmorn, the cold power was even colder. 100 kilometers away, the sword was drawn and the silver light shone. However, the Black Killer Snail King charged at Han Fei with its shelled body. At the same time, the sword light poured down with 10,000 times the gravity and slashed out. Han Fei directly crawled into the pit at the bottom of the sea. Behind him, the other clone of the Black Killer Snail King had already arrived. Its shell spun at an extremely high speed, and the 6-layered knife shadow that was thousands of meters long seemed to split the seawater and charged at Han Fei. This place has a restrictive spell. Activating the Dao Seed, the Black Killer Snail King's 1,000-meter-long rotating knife shadow suddenly shrank to more than 30 meters, dozens of times smaller. But even so, the terrifying knife light swept to Han Fei's front. Han Fei had already made up his mind. Once he was defeated and his body was shattered, he would turn into mist and run away as one. However, ding, crack, clank, 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 2 different sounds echoed at the same time. On one side, the shell of the Black Killer Snail King that Han Fei hit had dense cracks under Snowmorn's full-strength attack. Immediately after, the power of ice directly froze him into a big ice block. The clone of a king was smashed to the bottom of the sea by Han Fei's sword. With a boom, ripples spread out, and the explosive power swept out for 1,000 kilometers. Apart from everything else, all the vitality within 500 kilometers was cut off and crushed into pieces. On the other side, Han Fei was hit by the Black Killer Snail King. The 6 extremely sharp knife wheels seemed to be able to cut the seawater into pieces. However, they were stuck on Han Fei's body. It seemed that Han Fei had been cut into pieces. His flesh was cut open, but it didn't. Bam! Like a nuclear bomb, Han Fei was blown hundreds of kilometers away and rolled on the bottom of the sea. Han Fei thought to himself, it's so hard to roll like this. Thus, the body of white fog turned into a big ball again. Han Fei turned into a rolling white ball and crashed into the clone of the Black Killer Snail King that was frozen by him at a terrifying speed. The Black Killer Snail King was dumbfounded. Even if its Tao was broken, how could a peak-level explorer block its pure power of samsara? The Black Killer Snail King was quite puzzled. "You've already achieved the indestructible golden body?" Han Fei chuckled. "Well, I almost forgot it if you didn't mention it. Fine, since you've discovered it, let's have a great battle." Han Fei knocked the frozen Black Killer Snail King away, and the latter hit him with its shell. Bang! Both of them were sent flying backwards. However, after the ice broke, Han Fei saw that the shell of the Black Killer Snail King was being repaired. From all directions, a large amount of dark green corrosive blood was gathering. The Black Killer Snail King's voice was muffled and full of disdain. "Human, I've never seen someone as talented as you. But even so, what can you do to me in my world?" "Damn it!" With a shake of the white fog, 2 more heads grew out of Han Fei's neck, followed by 4 more arms. Bam! 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 Anyway, the white mist could change shape at will. Han Fei threw out his 3 heads and 6 arms, and the invincible fist mark punched the 2 kings' clones hard. Terrifying energy surged out like it was free of charge. In the so-called sacred land of sea demons, countless creatures had been killed in such a battle. Chapter 1427. Han Fei was infuriated. "You won't let me go? Why don't you try to kill me?" If he guessed correctly, the law of the Black Killer Snail King was the law of gravity. Therefore, Han Fei was at a disadvantage under the terrifying gravity in only a few seconds. If it weren't for his Tao Seed, which could confuse and break this law, Han Fei would have been beaten to a pulp when fighting a king in such a state. This time, Han Fei didn't let the Gemini bodies run in the opposite direction. The Black Fog body had been exposed. Facing a king-level expert, even if its strength was weakened, it couldn't hide. Therefore, he should be able to fight another battle with the Gemini fusion. After the fusion, his strength would double. Together with his understanding of disassembling spiritual energy, none of the 4 projections would be able to stop him if he used all his secret techniques. The Black Killer Snail King was speechless. Is the Yin-Yang sky really so powerful? Were the human race's current powerhouses already this F***king powerful? Although the Black Killer Snail King didn't know what the Gemini Divine technique was, he knew that it was definitely a top technique. Judging from the power of the 2 bodies, both of which had the combat ability of a venerable, he knew that these 2 bodies were the original bodies. Also, the body of the Black Shadow couldn't be seen with the naked eye and could only be sensed. If he wasn't careful, he might miss it. How did such a strange ability come into being? Besides, he forgot one thing just now. This person wasn't using spiritual energy at all, but demonic energy. Not only was the opponent using demonic energy, but the demonic energy was endless. He was the one who had created this sacred realm. This space obeyed his will. That was why the Black Killer Snail King said that Han Fei couldn't escape from this world. All the snails here were raised by the Black Killer Snail King. As long as he was willing, Han Fei wouldn't be able to absorb any energy or spiritual energy from here. Once an explorer or a venerable ran out of energy or spiritual energy, the only thing left in their body would be their physical strength. But now, Han Fei was bursting with spiritual energy and endless energy as if he had eaten a bomb. Even with the secret technique activated, he almost killed one of his clones with one slash. Logically speaking, Han Fei couldn't have launched such a violent attack. What was the result? Han Fei's fists were like shadows, shining with dazzling golden light, spanning dozens of kilometers. The power of each punch was as high as 2,000 wave. Who the F***ck could withstand this? Now that the Tao was forbidden, even though he was a king, he couldn't defeat Han Fei as a middle-level venerable. As for the power of the Great Path that Han Fei controlled, sealing space, the Black Killer Snail King did not suspect anything. Needless to say, this great Tao was very powerful. It was also the reason why the Black Killer Snail King had to kill Han Fei to master the power of this great path at the explorer level. If Han Fei was allowed to grow, it would be a disaster in the future. At this time, the Black Killer Snail King seemed to understand that in the face of a body-tempering master like Han Fei, it was impossible to kill him with sheer numbers. While running, Han Fei bombarded the enemies with super-nuclear bombs one after another. He didn't care if he could hurt the Black Killer Snail King or not. In any case, the energy needed to be consumed. In that case, I can destroy this mystic realm while beating you up. Wouldn't it be perfect to kill two birds with one stone? Almost with each punch, Han Fei consumed a lot of the Black Killer Snail King's energy and corrosive blood. The Black Killer Snail King was even getting weaker, and it was very obvious. After all, the corrosive blood wasn't being supplied very fast. But as the punches went on, Han Fei's heart suddenly trembled, because he found that the figures of the Black Killer Snail King began to overlap. Shoot! Are you finally going to fuse? Han Fei looked solemn. If his guess was right, the two clones were starting to fuse. As he expected, in just 1 second, although the Black Killer Snail King consumed a lot of energy and corrosive blood, the two bodies were still fused into one. On the other side, the Black Killer Snail King did the same thing. Han Fei's face turned ugly again. At this moment the old turtle said, "The evil king has gone mad." He blocked the area within 5,000 kilometers and detonated all the conches and sea demons in this area. In order to kill you, he's trying to improve his realm. Seriously? I'm just an explorer. Is it necessary? The old turtle said unhurriedly, "Do you think you are just an ordinary explorer?" Han Fei gritted his teeth. "But he doesn't have to consume so much power to hunt me, does he?" On his way here, Han Fei had a general understanding of the creatures in the so-called Saint Realm. How vast was a range of 5,000 kilometers? There were more than 10,000 conches and sea demons, but the Black Killer Snail King sacrificed them all at once and transformed them into his own power. The old turtle said, "Now, it's all about reserves. You have to do it whether you want to or not." His strength is increasing crazily. I'm afraid he has already reached the peak of the intermediate level. At this rate, it won't take long for him to break through to the advanced venerable realm. By then, you won't be a match for him at all. Han Fei gritted his teeth. "Old Yuan, is that all a king can do?" The old turtle said unhurriedly, "That's not a lot. In my opinion, this person has probably just become a king not long ago. Anyway, it's definitely not long. He's not as strong as any of the 3 kings on the Shuemu Heavens side. The reason why you find it hard to defeat him is that this is his territory, a world that he specially created." After a few minutes, the strength of the Black Killer Snail King had obviously improved a lot. Although it hadn't reached the advanced venerable realm yet, it wouldn't take long. The Black Killer Snail King sneered. "Human, go to hell. Merge." Han Fei had been waiting for this moment. Seeing the magnificent ink-colored tide sweeping over, Han Fei thought of something and merged the two bodies into one. They were tens of thousands of kilometers apart, but in the blink of an eye, the two merged and Han Fei's strength suddenly soared. The Black Killer Snail King. The Black Killer Snail King was speechless. What kind of divine technique is this? They were tens of thousands of kilometers apart, but in the blink of an eye they merged into one? This person actually revealed his true self? Flying Warehouse Han Fei thought of something. Anyway, I've already pretended to be a member of the Chao family, so I might as well change into Chao Chio's appearance. In Forge the Universe, Han Fei's more than 200,000 ultra-quality demonic stones containing hundreds of billions of demonic energy were dispersing. Swish. The moment after Han Fei merged, the Black Killer Snail King chased after him again. The Black Killer Snail King was not in a hurry. In front of Han Fei, the two bodies merged again. This time, Han Fei knew that the Black Killer Snail King could definitely advance to the advanced venerable realm without the old turtle telling him. The Black Killer Snail King said, "You've given me a lot of surprises. I'd like to see how far you can run." In just a few seconds, Han Fei saw that the road was blocked again. Han Fei immediately stopped running. He looked back and shrugged. "Do you think you can defeat me just because you're a king?" The Black Killer Snail King chased after him with a swish and reached out to grab Han Fei. The appalling power crushed the void wherever it passed. Demonic energy surged in Han Fei's eyes, and two inexplicable arrays appeared in his eyes. Han Fei grabbed a ball of demonic energy that was dozens of times larger than his body out of thin air. "Hey! I'll blow you up!" Han Fei stepped back and retreated 100 kilometers in the blink of an eye. Rumble, as soon as Han Fei took a step, the raging seawater had been squeezed over by the terrifying explosion. Even with such a terrifying explosion, Han Fei only used 5 billion points of demonic energy, which was equivalent to 10,000 ultra-quality demonic stones. This explosion was exactly the same as when Han Fei blew up the Sea Demon Trading Valley outside of the Ice God Gorge. At that time, the power of the explosion crushed half of the city. Within 1,000 kilometers, there was no life. Within 3,000 kilometers, there was nothing but a wasteland. The blast wave caused by the explosion spread for more than 10,000 kilometers. The same explosion happened again. The Black Killer Snail King was dumbfounded. "Damn it, how much demonic energy did you detonate?" "I've tolerated the fact that humans can use demonic energy. As a king, it's not easy for me to deal with it, and I can understand a lot of things. But you just casually took out billions of demonic energy and used it to bomb me? What the hell?" After all, the Black Killer Snail King was just a projection. Under such a terrifying explosion, he could protect himself, but he couldn't block it. If he blocked it, he would be crippled. But even if he didn't block it, the terrifying blast still knocked him hundreds of kilometers away. At such a close distance, Han Fei was stunned by the blast wave. However, the seal behind him had been broken. Agility of wind. At this moment, with the power of the explosion, Han Fei activated the agility of wind and pushed his speed to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, he was 1,000 kilometers away. And in Han Fei's left eye, an array jumped out in an instant. At the moment this array burst out, another array appeared in Han Fei's left eye. Behind him, the Black Killer Snail King roared, "Did I allow you to go?" However, Han Fei had already entered the teleportation array. After all, he was in someone else's territory. Han Fei had already calculated everything in his heart. Han Fei could feel that during the teleportation process, there was a dense glow. However, this didn't stop him from running away. After all, he had already found a chance to escape. Swish! Han Fei suddenly appeared at the entrance of this sea demon holy land. In front of him, a huge crack was still appearing in midair. The old turtle said, "At least, this crack shouldn't have been created by this king. He doesn't have this ability. This should be because the seal on the wall of death was broken, and this big snail just happened to take advantage of it." Han Fei directly rushed towards this crack. However, swish! A dark green seal suddenly appeared without any warning. The array engraved in Han Fei's right eye bloomed. Things were a little unexpected. The moment the seal appeared, the teleportation formation reappeared. Swish! As soon as Han Fei entered the teleportation array, the void behind him broke, and the Black Killer Snail King had already caught up. This king said that this is this king's world. How can you escape? Han Fei only felt that a figure followed him into the array. It seemed that the Black Killer Snail King was right behind him. Thud! Puff! Han Fei felt that his back was hit by a heavy hammer, and his flesh burst open. In the dense light of the teleportation array, Han Fei grabbed another mass of demonic energy, which contained billions of demonic energy. "Are you crazy?" The Black Killer Snail King was speechless. "Does this guy want to drag me into the void turbulence?" Chapter 1428. It was said that his physique was extremely strong. Han Fei thought so too. He was even more confident about his indestructible golden body. He had gone through so much suffering to get the indestructible golden body. It shouldn't be too much for him to go through the void turbulence, right? After the Black Spiral Snail King chased him into the teleportation array, Han Fei knew that he wouldn't be able to get out if he didn't try his best. When he took out a tremendous amount of demonic energy from the teleportation array, not just the Black Spiral Snail King, even the old turtle exclaimed, "Han Fei, are you out of your mind?" Han Fei roared, "I can come in and I can get out. Spiral Snail King, you can't stop me this time. Let's wait and see. Let's see if you can come out first, or if I kill my way through your 10,000 Demon Valley first." Bm, the demonic energy exploded, and the entire void was blown up. Han Fei stepped out and spun in a circle of light. Puff, 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 chilla! Clang, clang, clang! Countless space cracks fell on Han Feishan in an instant. Even though he was wrapped in the invincible golden light, Han Fei's body was cut into pieces in an instant. He was covered with thousands of wounds, big and small. Even though Han Fei used the 64-dimensional fish dragon dance and flash at the same time, he couldn't completely resist the tearing and sucking of the space crack. When the turbulence strangled him, Han Fei felt that the demon purification pot hummed and shook slightly in his head. However, the demon purification pot didn't help him get out of the sea of bitterness. Instead, it stretched out a small vine and grabbed some strange energy from the dense teleportation channel. Of course, Han Fei didn't have time to pay attention to what the demon purification pot was doing. Because the teleportation array was blown up, he had to protect himself. Han Fei cast the Apocalypse Divine technique on himself. Looking back, he saw that most of the Black Spiral Snail King's shell had collapsed in the dense light. It was not its real body after all. It could only be regarded as a powerful projection. In the space turbulence, it was much more powerful than Han Fei's million knife art. Each of the space cracks could easily strangle an explorer. Even Han Fei's golden body was covered in wounds in an instant, not to mention the temporary projections of the Black Spiral Snail King. Without the supply of energy, the Black Killer King could only wait for death. Crack, crack, crack banged. When the Black Killer Snail King exploded completely, Han Fei activated time transposition and his figure flashed out of the space turbulence. Originally, Han Fei just wanted to flash into a normal teleportation path. As a result, the void twisted, and Han Fei happened to be teleported into a space crack that had just been opened. F***CK. The old turtle was speechless. "Brat, there are so many spatial cracks here, why are you blindly wearing them?" Whoosh. Han Fei felt that the space turbulence around him disappeared without a trace in an instant. Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't afraid of being swept away by the void chasm. After all, as long as he still had his golden body, he would have a way to recover. Spatial turbulence alone would not be able to kill him. However, Han Fei didn't expect that he would leave the teleportation channel and be teleported to God knows where. He was surrounded by nothingness. It was a little different from the nothingness of the normal void. Han Fei slashed with his saber, trying to open the void. However, this slash failed to open a channel. In this pitch-black place, Han Fei felt a little dizzy. Where the hell did I go? In a daze, Han Fei seemed to see a weird chain appearing in the distant darkness in the nothingness. The old turtle shouted, "Be *****, take out your venerable token." Han Fei still felt dizzy. Hearing the old turtle's words, he immediately took out the venerable token. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, Han Fei felt the world was spinning. In the spinning, he seemed to see a silver-white ball of light flying past. Almost subconsciously, Han Fei reached out and grabbed the little ball of light, only to find that it was a semi-divine harpoon. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the space was torn apart, and a big void hand reached out from the void. Han Fei saw a flash of light in front of his eyes, and then he saw Jing Er's confused face. she said in surprise. Why did you go to the chaotic sea? Where? Han Fei quickly came back to his senses and looked at Jing in confusion. The chaotic sea? The old turtle once told him about the chaotic sea. He said that everyone actually had a sea. After they died, everything would belong to the chaotic sea. For example, the refined divine weapons and treasures would not fall out of their bodies after they died, but would stay in a place like the chaotic sea forever. The old turtle roared, "Kid, don't mess around before you master the spatial technique. Fortunately, you got lost halfway through the teleportation and were very close to Jing. Otherwise, if you were far away, Jing wouldn't have been able to find you." Jing asked solemnly, "Han Fei, what happened to you in there? How did you enter the chaotic sea? That's the domain of kings. If you don't become kings, you don't dare to enter. Even I don't dare to enter the chaotic sea completely. How did you get in?" Han Fei shrugged. "Don't talk about it. I was accidentally swept in by the spatial turbulence." With that, Han Fei raised his hand and looked at the semi-divine harpoon in his hand. He went to the chaotic sea and only picked up a lousy harpoon? Before Han Fei asked, the old turtle said, "Don't think about it. They are similar in the real world, so they are also similar in the chaotic sea. So it's not a big deal that you picked up someone else's things. It only means that someone happened to die at this moment. His soul returned to the chaotic sea, and the things inside were scattered, and you accidentally picked them up." Han Fei's heart did a flip. This was the same as the soul sea. If two people were similar, their spiritual beasts would be similar. It was a pity that Han Fei didn't have a chance to enter the soul sea now. Han Fei had only seen spiritual beasts, but never a companion spirit. The only explanation was that the companion spirit might be living in another mysterious ocean. Phew! Han Fei let out a long breath of relief. He was careless this time. If it weren't for Jing he might have entered the void by mistake. However, he was saved. Han Fei thought that this shouldn't be counted as Jing 3 chances to help him, right? Without thinking too much, Han Fei's face changed immediately. "By the way, Jing did anything unusual happen when I came out?" Jing hurriedly said, "Of course. If it weren't for this noise, I almost wouldn't have discovered that you ran into the chaotic sea." Han Fei asked in surprise, "What noise?" Jing explained, "A terrifying explosion took place in the crack channel. This explosion caused the space within 1,000 kilometers to be crisscrossed with cracks. The two venerables took action at the same time to stabilize it. However, half of the half-mermaids in the sea demon realm were hanged." Han Fei raised his eyebrows. Jing looked at Han Fei. "Did you do it again?" Han Fei said lightly, "What do you mean I did it again? I fought with the Sea Demon King for 3,000 rounds in the secret realm. How could there be no noise?" Jing thought to herself, "You're really good at bragging." The old turtle was even more disdainful. "You fought with them for 3,000 rounds? If you hadn't run fast, you would have been buried in there this time." Han Fei said, "The other venerables didn't discover us, did they?" Jing said helplessly, "You ran into the origin sea. Of course they couldn't find you. If it weren't for the sudden explosion of the entrance, which caused the sky to be full of cracks, you would have been lost in the origin sea. If you hadn't taken out the venerable token, if I hadn't happened to be here, I'm afraid you would have been lost in the origin sea." Han Fei was stunned for a long time. "Are the consequences of being lost in the origin sea very serious?" Jing said, "I don't know about this, but I know it's not easy for you to come out. Her Majesty said that it is a sea of silence, a land of the fallen, a world after the cultivators died." Han Fei asked, "Old Yuan, what do you think?" The old turtle said lazily, "It's not that exaggerated. The origin sea is not a space of certain death, but it is not a world that anyone can enter at will. In fact, if you are strong enough, you can go there to cultivate. But there must be an entrance and an exit. There are also legends that the Origin Sea contains the secret of longevity. Above the king's realm, people often explore it, but few have gained anything. At least, I have never seen the so-called longevity. Since Jing and the old turtle both said that it was a place that only the king's realm could understand, Han Fei naturally didn't ask too much. Because there was a more important thing now. He had to go back to the Scattered Stars Island quickly. The Sea Demon Holy Land was a big deal. The Black Killer Snail King shouldn't be able to come here in a short time. But other people could. For example, the Half-King Realm Powerhouse who was scheduled to come in a month, Master Qinglu. Besides, the Sea Demon Holy Land was the territory of the Black Killer Snail King, and he could easily send messages. If he launched the cannon, the 10,000 Demon Valley would definitely take action. In any case, the other party's king had appeared. Even if the nature of the Holy Land was that the king wanted to take the lives of these billions of creatures, no one among the sea demons knew. Everyone knew that the Sea Demon King City was about to return. The king was selfless. Even at this moment, these millions of sea demons had become loyal believers of the Black Killer Snail King, and it was useless to sow dissension. In this case, if the Scattered Stars Island wanted to win, they had to take action first. Han Fei narrowed his eyes, and a murderous look appeared on his face. Back to the island. 3rd. Meow. End of this chapter. Chapter 1429. When he came, Han Fei used a directional teleportation array. Therefore, it was impossible for Han Fei to fly back stupidly. After all, no matter how fast he flew, he couldn't compare to a teleportation array. Han Fei had been practicing arrays for many years, especially in the Age of Chaos Doom. He could be considered a master of arrays. However, before this, Han Fei couldn't make a directional teleportation array that could cross millions of kilometers at once. After all, his previous realm was too low. With Han Fei's original means, the teleportation distance of a directional teleportation array was at most 300,000 to 500,000 kilometers. This distance was already extremely far. And this was also the effect that Han Fei could achieve with the superposition of the experience of his two lives. Ordinary people, even venerables, couldn't teleport so far at once. In fact, for venerables who hadn't specially studied arrays, teleportation arrays seemed a bit useless. Even if he ran by himself, it wouldn't take long for him to cross 300,000 or 500,000 kilometers. The resources consumed to carve teleportation arrays were actually far more than that of flying by himself. However, compared to running by himself, teleportation arrays were still more convenient. In the process of carving teleportation arrays again and again, Han Fei gradually grew stronger. Han Fei found that all the ultra-long-distance teleportation arrays seemed to have a kind of line that he was not very familiar with in their arrays. This kind of line was not difficult. However, if he wanted to learn it well, he had to understand its meaning. Han Fei closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. The contents of the Ocean Book and the Spirit-Gathering Scripture flashed quickly in his mind. Soon, Han Fei discovered that there were similar array patterns in the spatial arrays in the Spirit-Gathering Scripture. And in the Ocean Book, there was even a special section for teleportation arrays. Among them, there was a section about the array patterns of complex space. Oh, I can try it. Teleportation arrays were spatial teleportation arrays. By connecting one place with another, a specific vibration frequency was generated to create a short-lived connection channel. This kind of long-distance teleportation array was actually looking for the vibration frequency of a place that one was familiar with. When Han Fei came, he made a mark on the spot. Even in the general's mansion, he also made a mark. Han Fei used his finger as a pen, gathered teleportation arrays in his hand, and drew more than 50 arrays in a row. Among them, there were 10 spirit-gathering arrays used to replenish spiritual energy. Han Fei didn't think it was enough, so he threw out a pile of ultra-quality demonic stones. Only then was he able to draw up a complicated long-distance teleportation formation. Jing said in surprise, "It's different from the one we came with. Did you create this yourself? It won't directly enter the origin sea, right?" Han Fei smiled. "Don't worry. My attainments in array formations are not low, I just want to verify my thoughts. Therefore, I created a new formation." Buzz, when Han Fei and Jing walked through the teleportation array, they suddenly saw the light. The howling winds from before had already calmed down. Han Fei immediately looked at Jing. "Is it the 10,000 Demon Valley?" Jing stared at the void as if she had seen through all kinds of mysteries. Then she looked at Han Fei with a strange expression. "The deviation may be a bit big. This place might be more than 200,000 kilometers away from the myriad Demon Valley." Han Fei's face darkened and he explained, "Sometimes, the deviation is a bit big. That was normal. After all, our teleportation distance is 4 million miles. Jing giggled. "Got it. The arrays of our waterwood heaven were all drawn by Master Bat. In terms of attainments in array formations, Master Bat can be said to be the strongest in the waterwood heaven, but the distance he can reach is only more than 2 million kilometers. It seems that you are not bad. However, the knowledge of array masters is actually not very useful. Her Majesty once said that once you become a king, 1,000,000 kilometers is just a snap of your fingers. In terms of speed, it's much faster than you drawing arrays." Han Fei smiled. "That's because you have never seen an array created by a king-level array master." As he spoke, Han Fei drew again with his fingers, and another teleportation array appeared. This time, Han Fei was accurately teleported to his marked point. Compared to before, the distance was about 230,000 miles, and he was indeed mocked by Jing. Han Fei said with a black face, "Wait for me for a day." After saying this, Han Fei quietly crept into the 10,000 Demon Valley alone. The old turtle was flabbergasted. "The Snail King already knows of your existence, even though you haven't revealed your identity. Although you have never revealed your identity, he is not stupid. Although you haven't revealed your identity, I'm afraid that the other party will immediately start to prepare." A gleam of light flashed in Han Fei's eyes. "If he has the guts, he can come here himself. If he can't come here, he can only pass the message through the Saint Land or that crack. Hey, no matter which way he passes the message, the 10,000 Demon Valley has no combat power at this moment." The old turtle hummed. "Are you stupid? Do you think 50,000 sea demons are too few? You just let so many people go home. Do you think all the hidden fissures on the scattered stars island add up to 20,000? Han Fei sneered. "No, you can't fight a war just by the number of people. Otherwise, what's the difference between you and a boorish man?" On the 5th day after Han Fei left the scattered stars island, Shueishenqi came to see Han Fei every day, and he stayed for a whole day. The old and new marshals met every day, which made people feel that there was something fishy going on. Even the guards of the marshal's mansion felt that the two marshals must be plotting something big. As usual, Shueishenqi sat upright in front of the very familiar position, looking at the various plans and arrangements on the island. At this moment, the information in his hand said that the 36 towns had been turned upside down. A large number of people who heard the news all wanted to visit the scattered stars island. Among them, most of the visitors were teachers and students from the major academies in the 36 towns. 2 days ago, it was said that in just one day, more than 500,000 people had saved their lives and wanted to come and have a look. Shueishenqi gave the order and scolded Meng Liang. 500,000 ordinary people came to the scattered stars island? Was his brain fried by the big yellow croaker? Later, Shueishenqi casually ordered the first batch of 50,000 people to come and visit, which could be regarded as an independent army, called the reinforcements. Besides, Shueishenqi also ordered that only 2 kinds of people could come to the scattered stars island. The first type were teachers, village chiefs, the various principals, and the leaders of the various organizations. they could come first. The other was those who could fight. Although theoretically, the reinforcements wouldn't be incorporated into the regular army. However, these people couldn't be undisciplined. Otherwise, once something went wrong, they would simply die. Today was the day when the first batch of reinforcements came to visit. Xuexianqi felt that he could go and have a look. Suddenly, Xuexianqi's eyes narrowed and he stretched out his hand to grasp at the void. However, at the critical moment, Xuexianqi stopped because he knew who the person was. When the figure appeared, Xuexianqi frowned. "Why are you in such a hurry? Is there something important?" The person was naturally Han Fei. Han Fei shouted in a low voice, "Mr. Xue. Today, at this moment, let the star turtle become a venerable." Xuexianqi paused for a full 10 minutes. He just looked at Han Fei quietly. Seeing that Han Fei's eyes were extremely firm, he frowned even more. "Why?" Han Fei. Blood Demon Valley, 3 million inferior manfish, 3 venerables, the highest is an intermediate one, 38 Tao-seeking realm, 280 sea spirits, 10,000 Demon Valley, 100,000 half-mermaids, 6 venerables, 1 peak level, 2 advanced, 2 intermediate, and 1 beginner. 62 Tao-seeking realm, 623 sea spirits, 50,000 sea demons. Han Fei added, "In addition, there is also an advanced venerable and a beginner venerable who may come back at any time. There are a total of 11 venerables." Xuexianqi's pupils suddenly shrank. 100,000 half-mermaids, 50,000 sea demons? Xuexianqi was not stupid. Of course, he wouldn't think that Han Fei reported the wrong number. He just looked at Han Fei quietly, waiting for him to continue. Han Fei said, "The sea demons have a sacred realm, which can be exchanged for the growth of strength with the life potential of the sea demons. Millions of sea demons are scrambling for it. Every day, the number of sea demons will increase by dozens or hundreds." Xuexianqi asked, "Are you sure?" Han Fei said, "The sea demon royal city is trying to return, but they can't come back in a short time. The other side is a king who has just opened the sea and doesn't have the ability to return. However, in a month at most, the other side will send a half-king. So, we don't have 3 months. Xuexianqi's unchanging cold face finally showed a surprised expression. Then, he immediately looked at Han Fei solemnly. "Han Fei, you are now the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island. You have to be responsible for what you say. Are you sure this news is true?" Han Fei naturally knew what this meant. It meant that the war would be brought forward and there was no time for them to waste. Han Fei nodded heavily. He had only been in office for a short time and needed God Xue's support. This time, he was going to take the initiative to fight. Xuexianqi's brain turned quickly. There are only 50,000 sea demons left in the 10,000 Demon Valley? Ready to fight? Han Fei nodded. Yes. I guess they may want to wait for the half-king to arrive before they start the war. Or they want to wait for the number of sea demons to reach 100,000. But now, I'm afraid that the 10,000 Demon Valley will also move. Xuexianqi was shocked. You've been exposed? Han Fei said. The Sea Demon's King's projection descended, and my traces of investigation were exposed. Although I killed him in the end, I'm afraid that the news of their investigation has been spread back. When Xuexianqi heard about the king's projection, he was shocked. Does the other side really have a king? But when he heard that the king's projection was killed by Han Fei, Xuexianqi was shocked. Now, he was very suspicious that Han Fei's words might be boasting. However, he also knew that Han Fei, as the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island, wouldn't lie. The king's projection was just a projection. No matter how powerful Han Fei was, it was impossible for him to kill a king. And there had never been a king in the Yinyang sky. If there were, the Scattered Stars Island would have been destroyed. And if the king didn't die, Han Fei's traces of investigation would inevitably be exposed. How could the other side not be prepared? Wow, Xuexianqi couldn't help taking a breath. How long did it take you to come back? Han Fei replied, 1 day. Shueishenqi asked, how are you going to fight? Han Fei smiled. The star turtle should have made a breakthrough. He is on our side, right? Shueishenqi nodded. Just protect him. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1430. Wang Jie, He Mingtang, the old village leader, and Li Gang were all connected. Because of Han Fei's teacher and the village leader, they had the opportunity to come to a place like the Scattered Stars Island. When they heard that the Scattered Stars Island was a battlefield between humans and sea monsters, they were really frightened. The old village leader had long known that the unknown place was not a good place to come to. Even the strong could die at any time. However, he didn't expect that the unknown place was a man-eating place, a battlefield between humans and sea monsters. Wang Jie and He Mingtang's understanding of the unknown place even came from the rumors of the old village leader. They had never even dreamed that they would have the opportunity to come to the unknown place today. When they arrived here from the teleportation array of the Wind Thunder Town, they took a deep breath. Because they saw a super big fish more than 300 meters long flying in the sky. Hiss! Ferocious beast! Son of a b****, what a big fish! In the exclamations of countless people around them, Wang Jie and He Mingtang, one on the left and one on the right, supported the old village leader, their hearts pounding. Gulp! Wang Jie sighed. Is this the unknown place? He Mingtang also sighed. It turns out that Xiaoyu and the others came to this place? The old village leader took a few breaths in a row. Don't panic, don't panic. Don't act like you've never seen the world. Remember, the commander is your student. Don't lose face. Wang Jie nodded. Yes. You're right, the village leader. Now that we're back, let's take a good look and see what this place is like. When we go back, we have to tell the villagers that we can't always act like we've never seen the world. Li Gang was stunned. It turns out that leader has been fighting in this place all the time? Because those who came to visit for the first time were all people who had some influence in the 36 towns, but were not very strong. Han Fei was counting on these people to go back and promote the Scattered Stars Island. Therefore, there were no very special people who came. A hidden fisher spread his wings in the sky, stroking the cloud whale and catching a big crab to feed. Xiaoyun, there are a lot of people this time. Grow bigger so that you can carry more people. Buzz, 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 the cloud whale's body was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, when the cloud whale reached 600 meters in length, it stopped growing. Maintaining the size of one's body also required spiritual energy and energy. But even so, it still caused a series of exclamations. Someone exclaimed, "Whose spiritual beast is this? It's so big, I'm afraid it can swallow countless people if it opens its mouth." Someone laughed and scolded. In any case, with our physiques, we're not even enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. A hidden fisher stood proudly in the sky and shouted at the countless people, "Everybody, line up in order and wait for the cloud whale to pick you up. To avoid congestion, let's send 10,000 people at once." The village chief and the others were the first to arrive. Not only did he manage to catch up with the first train, he was even sitting at the front of the line. The village leader said, "Remember, don't talk nonsense when you get there, and don't mention Han Fei's name. Right now, he was the supreme commander of that place. My identity and status are no longer the same." The old village chief's voice was very low, but how could the several experts not hear him? At this moment they all looked at each other in surprise. This great fishing master old man actually knew General Han? Seeing that the old village chief didn't use a voice transmission, Wang Jie immediately nodded. Yes, I didn't expect that little guy to have such great potential. I wonder if he's forgotten about me? Of course, Li Gang knew in his heart that the old village chief had said that on purpose. Everyone said that the unknown place was too dangerous, and there were so many people coming this time. Han Fei couldn't take care of them one by one, and he might not even know that they were coming. Therefore, the reason why the old village chief asked people to pay attention to them was to ensure their safety. Sure enough, the old village chief was shrewd. Without batting an eyelid, he had already provided protection for them. Li Gang immediately followed his example. Village chief, do you think our leader is still our leader now that he has become the supreme commander? The village leader tilted his head and frowned, glanced at Li Gang, and immediately shouted, "Shut up. I told you not to mention it. Why are you still mentioning it?" Li Gang hurriedly said, Yes, you're right, village chief." On the other side, He Mingtang looked solemn. "I wonder, how is Xiaoyu?" The village leader nodded. "Don't worry. Danger is danger, but there must be opportunities. Xiaoyu's growth experience is not ordinary. Didn't he send you a message a few days ago?" 2 hours later, almost all the tourists from the 36 towns had arrived. In the sky, it was not strange to see fishing boats flying back and forth. However, many people deliberately walked in the air, attracting their attention. Someone was stunned. "Why do I think everyone can fly to the sky?" Someone swallowed. "This is the unknown place, the frontline battlefield of mankind. 50,000 people were too many, and the scattered Stars Island couldn't arrange a large number of people to be their guides. This task was given to Meng Liang, so he naturally took over. The Trans-Island Inspection Team directly sent 100 elite. The so-called elites meant that they were all hidden fishers, which could not only show the strength of the unknown place, but also make it convenient for them to lead the team. Whoosh, 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 the 100 hidden fishers all spread their wings and rose into the air. What did this mean? These tourists were all scared out of their wit. Wang Jie asked, "Village chief, we've never seen so many Lord Angels in our lives, right?" Li Gang was a little excited. Since he knew Han Fei's current status, he couldn't sleep at night. The Black River Chamber of Commerce was destroyed as soon as possible. The remaining 100 or so members of the Fish Dragons were all in high spirit. After the return of the strong masters from the unknown place, countless members of the Fish Dragons requested to return. However, Li Gang refused any of them and threatened, "Those who quit the Fish Dragons will never be employed again." Later, when some strong masters from the unknown place proposed to join the Fish Dragons, Li Gang's body floated. No matter what their purpose was, now the Fish Dragons had been upgraded to a higher level. This was all thanks to his own persistence. Otherwise, he would have nowhere to cry at this moment. On this river, more than 50,000 people gathered, which was quite a scene. On both sides of the river, many people stopped to watch. 100 hidden fishers lined up in the sky. Meng Liang, standing at the forefront, said coldly, "A few days ago, a large number of strong masters from the unknown place returned, shocking everyone in the 36 towns." Meng Liang bellowed, "Gentlemen, you are all reputable people from the 36 towns. This is the unknown place that has been circulating in your stories. This is the battlefield between humans and sea demons. In this place there would be people dying every day. And they protect the hundreds of millions of people in the 36 towns." Someone suddenly asked, "Senior, what exactly are the unknown lands like?" Meng Liang frowned. "I didn't ask you to speak, so shut up. What exactly was the unknown lands like? I will arrange for someone to show you around and explain to you. Listen and see more. If you have any questions, ask your guide. This tour will last 3 days. After 3 days, leave the island quickly." As an explorer, Meng Liang maintained the coldness he should have. On the scattered Stars Island, in the army, there was no such thing as kindness. The person who asked the question just now blushed and didn't dare to speak again. Swish, swish, swish. The hidden fishers flew over one after another and shouted, 500 people in a group. Divide into the nearest groups. Hurry up, Wang Jie and the others walked together, following the flow of people. God knew which group they were assigned to. Every single one of these people who led the way was an expert. However, Meng Liang had just been divided into groups and hadn't arranged a tour plan yet. Suddenly, with a swish, a huge canopy appeared in the sky. Han Fei poked his head out. Attention, attention. Yes, leader. It's Han Fei. Li Gang and Wang Jie couldn't help shouting, but were immediately stopped by the village leader. Nonsense, he is doing his job. Meng Liang glanced at them and immediately looked at the sky again. Han Fei said solemnly, Attention, everyone. The Scattered Stars Island will immediately enter the highest state of combat readiness. Everyone, everyone, everyone. Hum swish. 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 For a time, fishing boats filled the sky, and countless people in the city flew in the sky. The people who were watching the show were practically swept away, and they fled one after another. Someone flashed his wings, stepped on the void, turned into a stream of light in the sky, and disappeared without a trace. In front of the 50,000 sightseeing groups from the 36 towns, almost in the blink of an eye, there was no one in the sky at all, only various streams of light flashing past. Meng Liang's face changed drastically. F***ck, why did something happen at this time? The war was imminent, and the Trans-Island Patrol team was also very busy. Meng Liang shouted, Everyone, return to your positions. Leave this place to me. Swish, swish, swish. At Meng Liang's order, the 100 hidden fishers disappeared with a swish. The remaining 50,000 people were in a panic. Meng Liang shouted, Quiet down. In the sky, Han Fei's voice was solemn. Attention, everyone. I have to tell you one thing today. On the Scattered Stars Island, there is a king's corpse. And now, the person who suppressed the seal is about to become a venerable. The king's corpse is about to appear. By then, the sea demons will definitely attack the island. In this battle, you guard the major coasts of the Scattered Stars Island as usual. The strong will be stopped by me and the venerables. Han Fei continued, The king's corpse can give birth to countless spirit-awakening fluid, so human beings have been able to survive for thousands of years. This king's corpse has made great contributions. Once it is obtained by the sea demons, the consequences will be unimaginable. It is very likely that another king will be created. By then, the human race will be in danger. At this moment, except for those who had returned, everyone looked up at the sky, listening to what Han Fei said in shock. Han Fei didn't dare to slack off and said as tough as ever, To tell you the truth, I don't want to tell you. However, in the corner you can't see, there is already smoke everywhere. Now I need you to work together to face the enemy. If you win, you will make great contributions to the human race for thousands of years. If you lose, you must fight to the last soldier. The second chapter. The third chapter is still being written. I'll update later. Recently, I can't keep up with the speed of writing. Please forgive me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1431. Wars were very common on the Scattered Stars Island. Even if it was a full-scale war, sea demons would all attack the island. Such things had happened more than once or twice in the past few years. Therefore, the millions of soldiers on the Scattered Stars Island were already used to fighting. If they were killed in battle, they would be unlucky. If they were not killed in battle, they would receive a large amount of resources for cultivation. For most people, as long as they had enough resources, they were fully capable of making further progress. However, today, Han Fei said a fact that they had never heard of. There was a king's corpse on the Scattered Stars Island? A king's corpse could give birth to spirit-awakening fluid? In other words, this king's corpse was a treasure that had nourished human beings for countless years. Thinking of this, many people immediately understood why the sea demons came to attack the island and snatch the spirit-awakening fluid. It was all for the king's corpse. When Han Fei announced the news to the entire island, the venerables of the big clans and the 7 major sects were all shocked. Han Fei just said it out loud? But on second thought, even if Han Fei didn't say it, the Star Turtle wouldn't last long. In just a few months, the million soldiers on the Scattered Stars Island would know it sooner or later. This didn't surprise them. What shocked them was that Han Fei said that the star turtle was about to become a venerable. This was completely out of their expectations. It was so sudden that no one was prepared. The venerables of the big clans thought that there should still be a few months. After all, there was still no movement from the Empyrean waterfall. In the 7 major sects, Mu Tianfang and the others all took a breath. Once the star turtle made a breakthrough, it meant that the battle would begin. Jian Sanqing said, "Everyone, let's resist the enemy first. The king's corpse will fall into someone else's hands later." The big families didn't dare to take them lightly. Otherwise, not to mention Han Fei's stubborn temper, he would kill them to the end. Otherwise, let's resist the enemy first. Fairy Huiyu agreed. I second it. The most likely result is that we can each get some. But if we can exclude the big clans, we can naturally get more. Elder of 6 Swords nodded. I'm not worried about the king's corpse. I think that although Han Fei has a good relationship with the 7 major sects, it's only relative. I think that although Han Fei has a good relationship with the 7 major sects, it's only relative. Han Fei has never asked for our opinions on many things on the Scattered Stars Island. At most, he will make some arrangements casually during the war. Elder Bingyun said lightly, "We know the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Once you stand in this position, it's not just the gains and losses of 1 or 2 people. What I'm looking at is the entire human race. I believe that we should win this battle first. If the aristocratic families really do something, the consequences won't be something that 1 or 2 aristocratic families can bear." While the experts of the 7 major sects gathered together to discuss, the people of the aristocratic families also gathered together. Whether it was the big clans or the 7 major sects, they were all foreign aid on the Scattered Stars Island. They wouldn't move unless the highest commander called. At this moment, Chu Qing and the others had unsightly expressions on their faces. Something must have happened that we don't know about. According to the Patriarch's calculations, there are at least 3 months until the star tortoise emerges. Now, it's been so long it's impossible that nothing has happened. 2 days, Yi and 2 Yi Island 1,000 years Yi had on island. He has only been back for a few days, but 2 wars have broken out, and then he mobilized the 36 towns. What is his purpose? Yang Kuan scoffed. I don't think he has any purpose. He just wants to show off in front of millions of people. The senior masters really wanted to roll their eyes at Yang Kuan. The Yang family really didn't use their brains. Was there something wrong with Han Fei's brain? Just to show off in front of others, he made it known to the whole world? Zhang Zhihua looked solemn. It's too sudden. I'm afraid that the masters of the clan are not prepared, because none of this is in their plan. Will Han Guanshu, the Thug Patriarch, Ren Tianfen, and the faceless men of the Thug Academy appear? Will they take the opportunity to attack the 1,000-star city again? I don't know. Hearing Zhang Zhihua's words, everyone's face darkened. But if the clan didn't send real masters here, they wouldn't be able to control the situation. Even including Chao Shuang, the big clans had only sent 6 venerables. The 7 major sects had 4 venerables, and Shueishenqi was already on Han Fei's side. Plus Han Fei himself, there were 6 venerables in total. Just like this, it was already 6 against 6. Even if they attacked each other, it would be hard to tell who would win, and it was very likely that they would lose. It was mainly because Han Fei was too cunning. Chu Qing said, "Let's wait a little longer. The clan won't give up this opportunity. If we are defeated and can't get the remains of the king, there must be someone behind us plotting against us." While the million soldiers were shocked and the strong masters were worried, Han Fei and Shueishenqi had just arrived at the Empyrean waterfall. Suddenly, a voice sounded from Han Fei's waist tag. "General Han, the whole island is ready for battle. What about the sightseeing groups from the 36 towns?" Han Fei scanned with his perception and immediately scanned the group of light tubes of more than 50,000 people, who were all looking up at the sky in shock. Han Fei even saw the village leader and the others. Han Fei didn't know what to say. Who let them come here? Among these people, the strongest was the village leader, but he was only a peak-level great fishing master. Why did they come here? But on second thought, the village leader and Wang Jie were more intimidating than them. Even He Mingtang was now the deputy dean of the Heavenly Water Village Central Primary School, and Li Gang was the deputy leader of the Fish Dragons. Only these people could really spread the news of the Scattered Stars Island to the public and make people trust them. Just when the 50,000 sightseeing groups were shivering, 100 meters away, next to Meng Liang, a phantom head suddenly appeared. It was none other than Han Fei. Hiss! A large group of people gasped. What's going on? Why didn't the head appear out of thin air? Li Gang immediately exclaimed, Leader, leader! I'm Gongzi. Han Fei was speechless. He thought to himself, is this kid blind? Doesn't he know who my husband is? How do you want others to see you calling yourself gang leader? Han Fei shouted in a low voice, shut up. Li Gang immediately shut up, and Han Fei said leisurely, the sightseeing group can rest here. When the battle is over, the sightseeing group can continue. Meng Liang hurriedly said, General Han, what about me? Han Fei said, you return to your position. The Trans-Island Patrol Team has a lot of work to do without you. Meng Liang secretly breathed a sigh of relief. What about them? Puff. The void was torn apart and a pangolin passed through the void. The strength of this explorer shocked Meng Liang. He had been on the Scattered Stars Island for so long, but he had never seen such a creature, nor had he seen anyone on the island with such a powerful spiritual beast. So, this must be Han Fei's doing. Han Fei said, I'll take care of the safety of these people. Earth 9, guard these people and don't leave without permission. Earth 9 nodded. Yes, master. From the beginning to the end, Han Fei only scolded them and didn't talk to them again. At this moment, many people were shocked by how Earth 9 drilled through the void, wondering why this strange fish was so much stronger than them. The village leader pulled Li Gang and said, Don't act like you've never seen the world. Don't you see that a great battle is about to break out? Calm down. Wang Jie also looked at Li Gang. The village leader is right. Why are you shouting? Are we going to be your relatives now? The Empyrean waterfall. Many people were still watching from afar. Juinling was only 1,000 meters away from Han Fei and was standing at the gate of his yard. Han Fei looked back. Everyone from the Empyrean waterfall, go to the central city and gather at the gate of the general's mansion. Many people were confused. By logic, they should go to the peripheral battlefield to help, but Han Fei asked them to go to the central city. Was there a secret mission? Juinling nodded. You have to stay alive. Han Fei smiled. Who can kill me? Hum. Or when the fishing boats took off one after another, the star tortoise's voice sounded. I'm ready. I can persist for 3 more months. But if I become a venerable now, the sea demons will definitely notice it. Han Fei looked at Shueishenqi. Mr. Shui, I'll take care of the Scattered Stars Island. Shueishenqi said expressionlessly, Okay. When Shueishenqi tore apart the void and left, Han Fei took a deep breath and shouted, The big families, the 7 major sects, the venerables, and the explorers, listen up. This is a time of war. If anyone fails to show up at my command, they will be punished according to military law. Even if they have to face millions of enemies, you must not make a mistake. While Han Fei was talking to these people, a pure black shadow crawled out of the ground on a certain street of the Scattered Stars Island and swept across the sky, following the distant and lonely cry in the blink of an eye. Half an hour later, Han Fei perceived that there was almost no one from the 4 outer cities to the central city. Now that everyone was ready, Han Fei was relieved. Who? Senior Star Tortoise, it's time to make a breakthrough. Crack. At that moment, on the Scattered Stars Island, the earth was shaking, the water of the Empyrean waterfall flowed backward, and the 1,000-meter-high mountain crack. In the dark, the aura of the Tao was manifested, and the light spread for thousands of kilometers. The millions of people on the scattered stars island who were preparing for the battle were excited. Chapter 1432. The star tortoise finally made a breakthrough. Above the Empyrean waterfall, the aura of Tao descended and the light was enshrouding. However, there was only one person standing under the Empyrean waterfall, and that was Han Fei. At this moment, Han Fei said casually, "Take your time. There's no rush." The star tortoise was so nervous that he said to Han Fei telepathically, "Protect me. I'm a venerable and very strong." Han Fei nodded. "No one can touch you in my territory." The star tortoise trusted Shueishenqi and Han Fei too. It could be said that the star tortoise trusted every supreme commander of the scattered stars island. Over the years, the star tortoise had long discovered that those who could become the supreme commanders were very smart and knew what the consequences of their actions would be. At this moment, spiritual energy soared into the sky and the light was boundless. It was the first time that Han Fei had seen what it was like to become a venerable. On the scattered stars island, except for a few people, no one knew what it was like to become a venerable. Han Fei broadcast to the entire scattered stars island, "Soldiers, the scattered stars island has been fighting for countless years, and many heroes have been buried here, far away from their homeland. This battle may last for 1 day, 2 days, or even 3 days. However, please believe me, this battle will be one of the most wonderful battles in the history of the scattered stars island. Even in the past 10,000 years, there hasn't been such a terrible battle. Everyone, we are creating this era, and we are bringing mankind to glory." Who? Son of AB*TCH, it's the final battle. Let's fight. I'm a little nervous. General Han is going to fight an eternal war? Can we do it? Some people's hearts trembled, hoping that fewer people would die this time. General Han, I'm willing to create a prosperous era for mankind. Although they hadn't seen the enemy yet, everyone knew that a storm was coming. It seemed that the enemy would arrive in an instant. They were all used to seeing life and death. When they heard of Han Fei's ambition, for some reason, they felt a sense of satisfaction. It seemed that Han Fei was just doing what they had never dared to do and couldn't do, fighting the 10,000 Demon Valley. Who cares? Today, I'll kill him until the heavens and earth turn upside down. The village leader, Wang Jie, and the others were all horrified to see Han Fei. How many years had it been? Back then, that poor kid who suddenly rose to fame had actually reached such a stage? This was something they couldn't comprehend. The other members of the sightseeing group were breathing heavily and making a ruckus. Someone was overwhelmed with emotions. A great battle. We've come across a great opportunity and encountered an incomparable great battle. Someone was worried. Will we be in danger? Someone said, "How are we in danger? Can't you see that those who should be fighting have left? Besides, with our strength, what kind of combat power can we possibly have? It's not even enough for him to kill a few times." The moment the star tortoise made the breakthrough, the Grand Monarch of the 10,000 Demon Valley suddenly rose to his feet. "My king is right. The scattered stars island is taking action. I just didn't expect it to be so fast." Immediately, the Sea Demon Venerable's voice reverberated in the air. "Attack! Our target is the scattered stars island. This battle would announce the end of this long war. Stargate formation, open." The myriad Demon Valley seemed to have already received the news that the secret of the Saint Land had been cracked. The Black Killer Snail King personally issued an order. Within 3 days, once the scattered stars island made a move, the whole army would attack. 3 days later, if the human beings didn't do anything, the whole army would still attack. At this time, only 1 day after the Black Killer Snail King's 3-day order, the scattered stars island took a big move. The 10,000 Demon Valley couldn't wait any longer. Now they had to take action, even if they didn't want to. If they didn't take action, the king's corpse would be gone. Therefore, not only did they have to take action, but they also had to take action quickly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 2 purple spirals suddenly rose above the 10,000 Demon Valley and the Blood Demon Valley, directly illuminating the void. Woo woo, a strange horn sound came out of the spirals. Immediately afterward, several starlights fell. However, before the starlights landed, huge teleportation portals that were shrouded in light appeared one after another at the bottom of the sea. Yes, this time, it was not just teleportation portals, but gate-shaped channels. In the Blood Demon Valley, a venerable shouted, "Follow the order. The strong will lead the team and charge to the island. If anyone flees or cowers, kill them without mercy." Another supremacy smiled. "Not leaving a single one?" The venerable who gave the order chuckled. "Why should we leave? This is a battle with all our strength. Our king will be furious if someone destroys the Saint Land. He will definitely send Grand Venerable Clearstream here at all costs. However, we can't wait any longer. The Scattered Stars Island has begun to take action. We have to go whether we want to or not." A venerable said, "Grand Venerable Chao Xian, what about the Saint Land? Lord Mo Lin has returned. Silver spears alone can't set up such a long-distance teleportation array." Chao Xian didn't care at all. "It doesn't matter. Our king can sense the Saint Land. Who can make trouble? The 50,000 sea demons in the 10,000 Demon Valley are enough to crush the humans on the Scattered Stars Island." Woo woo woo, howls rang out incessantly. The sea demon army, which was as dense as locusts, rushed into the spirals. On the Scattered Stars Island, the glow was getting brighter and brighter. Perhaps because the old turtle had been suppressing the Empyrean waterfall for too long, his foundation was unbelievably strong. In just a moment, within a radius of 3,000 kilometers, light flashed in the sky, and the aura of Tao descended. The weather changed, covering the entire island. Like a drizzle, it fell on people's bodies very softly. Along the coast, some people sighed. "Is this the so-called venerable? A venerable? What kind of expert is that?" Someone sighed leisurely. "In fact, we don't have time. Most of the time, we are trapped on the Scattered Stars Island. If there were no 10,000 Demon Valley and sea demons, we might be able to grow quickly in secret realms in the desolate sea." Someone laughed and scolded, "Don't think so much. Let's win this battle first." Someone said, "It's been almost half an hour, and we haven't even seen the sea demons. Will the sea demons really come? I think even if they come, what can they do? Maybe that expert has already made a breakthrough." Someone sneered. "What do you know? General Han said that smoke is already rising in places we can't see. Don't you know what he means? Keep an eye on them." While countless people on the coastlines of the Scattered Stars Island were still discussing the Star Tortoise's breakthrough, a huge crack suddenly appeared in the sky. The explorer leaders of the major organizations roared, "Everyone, get ready to fight the enemy." Someone who knew what was going on took a deep breath. "It's the Stargate. The 10,000 Demon Valley has opened the Stargate teleportation array. This unprecedented battle only happened 1,800 years ago." The experienced explorer experts were shocked and tense. Who knew that such an astonishing battle would break out just because of the Star Tortoise's breakthrough? Ordinary people had never seen the Stargate teleportation array before. At this moment, they all exclaimed and marveled. The various guild leaders, senior captains, and junior captains were all shouting, "Are the resources ready? Damn it, you didn't use all the resources that General Han gave us, did you? Remember, when the battle starts later, use all the resources. Don't save them. I'm afraid you'll die if you don't save them." Someone shouted, "Brothers, this is an unprecedented battle, we must win. Think about your family in the 1,000-star city or the 36 towns. This battle is for the sake of billions of humans, and also for the sake of your friends, family, and descendants." In fact, the frequency of battles on the scattered stars island in the past few years had already told them that there might be an unusually big battle. Come to think of it, this unprecedented war should be it, right? Almost everyone on the major defense lines of the scattered stars island was breathing heavily. In the midst of the roars, a huge number of sea demons were pouring out of the Stargate teleportation array. The inferior manfish and red demons swarmed over like a tide. A half-mermaid in the sea demon realm crossed and circled the battlefield. In an instant, hundreds of thousands of sea demons appeared. Han Fei was also watching this scene at this moment and frowned slightly. This teleportation array seemed very advanced. He had never seen such a teleportation array before. The sea demons turned a space into a door and connected the two sides? The teleportation array was so stable. Han Fei waved his hand, and the sky-hanging mirror in his hand shone around the island like a movie. The sightseeing groups from the 36 towns were all dumbfounded at this moment. They all exclaimed, "What's that? What are those things?" "They're sea demons." "Then they must be sea demons." "How many sea demons are there? And they're of different colors? There are even some that look so similar to humans?" Almost spontaneously, on the front line of the scattered stars island, almost everyone's body trembled. They didn't know whether they were angry, excited, or struggling. At this moment, everyone held their weapons, stretched their necks, and roared, "Kill!" The captain-level powerhouses all cursed. "What are you panicking for? Listen to my command." In just 100 seconds, the area 10 kilometers away had been occupied by a large number of sea demons. At that moment, a tide surged. Within 1,000 kilometers, a large number of sea demons were summoned and began to attack the coast. This time, it was different from any previous battle. In the past, it was mostly the sea demons who drove sea creatures to attack the coast, trying to consume human beings. When those sea demons entered within 10 kilometers of the coast, the momentum of the human side had risen to the extreme. As a matter of fact, as soon as the various commanders and captains saw the crowd's excitement, the spiritual energy on their bodies went berserk, and they roared furiously. "Kill! Brothers, this is our last chance. Let's fight. Charge with me, for billions of human beings. Don't blow yourself up unless it's a last resort." Someone sprinted and roared, "Team, don't disperse. F***CK, where are you going? Formation, formation." Someone shouted, "Fuse, fuse, kill," in all kinds of shouts. On the battlefield, two torrents of molten iron collided with each other and spread to each other. BM, BM, BM. This was just the first moment of the impact. All kinds of roars and explosions sounded. Thus, this unprecedented battle began. First, asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1433. On the front line battlefield, the craziest battle in history had already unfolded. Only then did Han Fei realize that as the supreme commander, someone had to be sacrificed for one of his purposes. This kind of sacrifice could also be said to be easily sending them to their graves. However, Han Fei didn't regret it. At this time, Han Fei also realized that Shueishenqi had been in charge of the Scattered Stars Island for so many years. It was probably because of this that he developed that stiff expression. Han Fei turned off the sky curtain. It was not the time to play a movie during a great battle. The reason why he played it just now was that he needed to maintain his momentum. He wanted everyone on the island to see that this battle was different from all the previous ones. The Empyrean waterfall. The mountains collapsed, the waterfall flowed backward, and the surroundings seemed to be filled with a mysterious law of the great Tao. From the outside, the Empyrean waterfall was rising. Compared with the beginning, it had risen by more than 10 kilometers. And the height was still rising rapidly. Han Fei knew that the bottom of the waterfall was 60 kilometers away from the ground. Every time the star turtle rose a little, it seemed that thousands of steel cables were broken. It was because it had been suppressed here for too long, so long that it was as if it had been sealed here by itself. This kind of breakthrough required a huge amount of energy and spiritual energy. Fortunately, after thousands of years of accumulation, the star turtle didn't lack things such as spiritual spring and energy. Suddenly, Han Fei clenched his fingers subconsciously, knowing that something was wrong. The old turtle said, "The sea demon Venerable is here." Han Fei reached out and stroked the star badge on his waist, without moving his body at all. The show is about to begin. On the Scattered Stars Island, from the Empyrean Waterfall to the Transverse Mountain, on the major defense lines there would be an iteration every 4 years. And the iteration time of the Empyrean Waterfall was generally more than 10 years. Therefore, the probability of the experts of the Empyrean Waterfall becoming explorers was also very high. Generation after generation, would the experts created by the Scattered Stars Island disappear? Of course not. Some of these people went to the Thousand Star City, and some went to the sea behind the Scattered Stars Island, which was the unknown sea that could theoretically lead to the Level 3 fishery and the 36 towns. Someone else had been on the Scattered Stars Island the whole time. Some were in the Hengduan mountain range, some were hiding in the central city, and some were hiding in the bustling streets of the major cities. During the years when Han Fei was in the Shuemu heaven, these people had been returning. Up until today there were quite a few of them. Most of them were concentrated in the marshal's mansion's array in the central city. Shueishenqi stood in the main seat. At this moment, everyone's eyes were attracted by Han Fei. The people around Shueishenqi were all from the Transverse Mountain and the Empyrean Waterfall. They had just been summoned here. Although this might attract some people's attention, it didn't matter. No one dared to question Shueishenqi, even though he had already given up his position. Juyin Ling, He Xiaoyu, and her entire team were among them. Why? It was because those who lived in the Empyrean Waterfall couldn't be treated like ordinary people anymore. Originally, He Xiaoyu planned to return to the team. However, he was stopped before he left the Empyrean Waterfall. Since they were already here, they no longer needed to return to the group. He Xiaoyu and the others were stunned for a long time. At this moment, He Xiaoyu and the others looked at the 3,000 people in the array of the marshal's mansion in front of them. He Xiaoyu suddenly discovered that she and her team were the weakest. Almost everyone here was a peak-level hidden fisher. He Xiaoyu had reached this level, but her team hadn't. But even so, even if they didn't want the slightest news to leak, they could never leave the Empyrean Waterfall again. Shueishenqi's eyes were cold. There were 2,681 peak-level hidden fishers, 381 sea spirit state powerhouses, and 6 explorers here. For example, Yui Yushire, Ning Jingyao. Han Fei knew all of them. They didn't go to the Thousand-Star City. Then where did they go? Shueishenqi shouted in a low voice, 3 years ago, I intended to summon you back. However, most of you are already nowhere to be found. I tried my best, but I could only summon 3,068 of you. Today, the battle on the Scattered Stars Island was a battle that could have been foreseen many years ago. Whether it's me or Han Fei, this battle must be fought. Shueishenqi's body was full of killing intent. Since Han Fei is fighting this battle now, the Scattered Stars Island will be handed over to him. Now I need you to fight a battle in which the outcome is uncertain. Are you willing to follow me? We are willing. Shueishenqi said lightly, Today, follow me to annihilate the 10,000 Demon Valley. Suddenly, a directional teleportation array was unfolded in the array of the Marshal's mansion. Han Fei had been planning to sneak attack the 10,000 Demon Valley for a long time. However, the 10,000 Demon Valley was the base camp of sea demons. How could he have a chance to sneak attack them? But recently, the Star Tortoise became a venerable, and the demons attacked. If he didn't steal it now, when would he? The Empyrean Waterfall. Swish. Han Fei suddenly slashed open the void with his sword, stepped out, and walked in. Han Fei's voice was still floating. Everyone, you're already here. There's no need to hide. Buzz, 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 in the void, figures of experts appeared one after another. In the void, 9 venerables appeared neatly one after another. One of them said, "Oh, I didn't expect that there isn't even one advanced venerable on the Scattered Stars Island." Han Fei thought to himself. The old tortoise said, "The other side has 2 advanced venerables. I don't see their peak." Han Fei didn't panic at all. For now, the strong certainly wouldn't attack so easily. This was war. It wasn't a fair and square battle, but a battle to determine the winner and loser of the peak combat power. Han Fei tilted his head. "I am Han Fei, the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. The Empyrean waterfall is under my feet. Come and grab it if you can." How can a little boy who hasn't even reached the level of Venerable be the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island? How dare you challenge me? I'm Mo Lin. Let me test the strength of the Scattered Stars Island. Mo Lin's body flashed, and 8 reddish-brown tentacles appeared in the void, stabbing at Han Fei like arrows. Han Fei put his hands behind his back, his face full of disdain. An iron staff suddenly broke through the air and struck the sky. As soon as the staff stretched out, the 8 tentacles all trembled. The tentacles merged into one and struck out with a loud bang, blasting out rolling ripples. An old voice said, "I haven't come out for years and my bones are a little loose. I wonder if anyone still remembers me, Chun San Bai?" Mo Lin's face changed slightly. "Humph, I thought you were strong. But you're only an advanced venerable. Unfortunately, you're already old." However, the venerables of the big clans and the 7 major sects were all shocked. Chu Qing exclaimed, "Huh, it's him? He's not dead yet? 800 years ago, he was the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island and broke into that place. I heard that he didn't come out at all." Jian Sanqing of the 7 major sects said in surprise, "Chun San, the one who led 300 righteous men into the boundless sea?" Some people jokingly called him Chun San Bai, saying that he led 300 people to death. The Yinyang heaven didn't know what the wall of death was. They only thought it was the boundless sea. It was said that so far, no one had been able to come out of the boundless sea alive. But now, someone had actually survived, and his strength, immediately, everyone was horrified. Had he already reached the advanced venerable realm? They didn't expect that there would be such a strong expert outside the 1,000-star city. Han Fei smiled faintly. He didn't expect that an old man in the archive room could be so strong. Originally, he was thinking that the high-level combat power on his side was no match for him. He might as well let Jing take action. It just so happened that he had gathered a large number of people this time. Once Jing took action, these people would be wiped out. His reputation on the Scattered Stars Island would reach an unprecedented peak. However, Shueishenqi mentioned Elder Chen to Han Fei, which changed Han Fei's mind again. Han Fei immediately shouted, "Chu Qing, Yi Kai, Chao Shuang, and Jian Sanqing, where are you?" Buzz, buzz, buzz. As soon as these people appeared, 4 people from the Sea Demon camp walked out. These people were all intermediate venerables. However, they were all venerables and almost all of them were old. Indeed, in the venerable realm, although there was a gap in strength, the gap was not too big. Chu Qing took a deep look at Han Fei and thought, "I'd like to see how Han Fei is going to fight." On the Sea Demon side, there were a total of 4 intermediate venerables. 1 from the Blood Demon Valley, 1 from the Crack, and 2 from the 10,000 Demon Valley. At this moment, they were all pulled away. Suddenly, the number of venerables around was reduced. Immediately afterward, Han Fei said, "Yang Kuan, Sun Baixing, Zhang Jihua, Lu Jian on the Sea Demon side," for more people came out and tore the void. In the field, there was only 1 Sea Demon venerable left. The only Sea Demon venerable said, "To be honest, there are quite a lot of strong experts on the Scattered Stars Island. However, I'm Ziyu Chuan, an advanced venerable. May I ask why the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island stopped me?" Han Fei looked at Ziyuchuan and shrugged slightly. Don't worry. I heard that you brought a lot of Dao-seeking state demons? Ziyuchuan grinned. Yes, so what? Han Fei grinned and said, how about I give you the Empyrean waterfall? Why don't you give me the 100 Dao-seeking demons? Ziyuchuan's pupils constricted and he thought, what does Han Fei mean? Han Fei said, this is a good deal. On my side there are still 2 junior venerables in me. You're just an advanced venerable, so I don't think I'm interested in them. However, if you help me, it won't be too difficult for me to kill those 100 Dao-seeking demons. What do you think? Ziyuchuan sneered. Do you think I'll believe you? Before he finished speaking, Ziyuchuan shouted again, everyone, attack and kill the experts of the Scattered Stars Island. In the void, figures appeared one after another and scattered in all directions of the Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei said, Elder Bingyun, Fairy Huiyu, I'll leave these explorers to you. Fairy Huiyu asked, what about you? Can you stop this person alone? The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. I have to try. Second, asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1434. Ziyuchuan was a little dumbfounded. Watching Elder Bingyun and Fairy Huiyue fly away, how could he bear it? No matter how strong a Dao-seeking state demon was, it was impossible for it to be a match for a venerable. He stretched out his hand, and an ancient seal pressed the void, trying to stop the 2 of them. However, with a roar, the phantoms of hundreds of beasts rampaged, Han Fei's body expanded, and he appeared in front of Ziyuchuan out of thin air. Bam! Han Fei was blasted 100 kilometers away, but as he stepped on the ground, he immediately came to Ziyuchuan again. You should have another peak-level venerable, right? Why don't you leave the rest to him? Ziyuchuan's expression changed drastically. Are you trying to bully our Sea Demon King City with numbers? Han Fei shrugged. Did I? I didn't. But if you hit me, does it count as bullying? Although Han Fei was shouting, he was very anxious in his heart. Elder Bingyun and Fairy Huiyue were destined to fail. They were just testing him. Han Fei knew very well that if he were the Black Killer Snail King, he would definitely change his plan. He wouldn't give himself a month no matter what. Especially when he had even been to the so-called Saint Land. As expected, when Elder Bingyun and Fairy Huiyue just tore through the air, they only saw the void tremble. 2 spear lights struck horizontally, directly blasting the 2 of them back. Sure enough, a few more junior venerables came out from the 10,000 Demon Valley. Han Fei guessed that the 10,000 Demon Valley was also waiting. They didn't take the initiative to attack because they knew that they weren't strong enough. Otherwise, they would have destroyed the Scattered Stars Island long ago. When he entered the Saint Land, the Black Killer Snail King knew that he couldn't wait any longer. It didn't matter who won or lost, as long as he didn't have time. If Ouyangming's guess was right, the 2 elementary venerable ones should have been sent over today. However, Han Fei was almost certain that the Sea Demon King City was still sending people over at this moment. The 10,000 Demon Valley. Shueishenqi led more than 3,000 people out of the teleportation array and quickly swept over according to the various routes given by Han Fei. The reason why Han Fei stayed one more day on his way back was to set up a formation. However, it was reasonable to say that since the Myriad Demon Valley had launched an all-out attack on the city was empty. Even if it had been swept away, so what? It wasn't like he could kill many people. But Han Fei would rather sacrifice Shueishenqi and more than 3,000 backbone combat forces to sweep the 10,000 Demon Valley, betting on the 10,000 Demon Valley's backup plan. At this moment, everyone looked at the Stargate teleportation formation in the sea above the Myriad Demon Valley. They were horrified. When were these strange teleportation formations built? Shueishenqi shouted, "Everyone, this is the gathering place of sea demons, the 10,000 Demon Valley. Now, do your best to destroy the Myriad Demon Valley. First, destroy these teleportation formations." There were always traces of the formation, but Shueishenqi led the troops to attack, and the Stargate teleportation formation began to collapse one after another. On Scattered Stars Island, when Ziyuchuan saw the Stargate teleportation formation rapidly collapsing, he knew that the Myriad Demon Valley had been attacked. Ziyuchuan was not the only one. Above the void, Chao Xian was also locked down by an aura. It was precisely because of this aura that he didn't make a move. His thought was that if he didn't move, the human expert wouldn't move either. And the other venerables of the Scattered Stars Island were no match for the 10,000 Demon Valley in terms of overall strength. Besides, on the frontline battlefield, 50,000 sea demons and nearly 2,000 sea spirits were equally fierce. If they broke through the human defense lines and the high-level human experts were pinned down, they could still win. But Chao Xian couldn't figure out how Han Fei could send people to sweep the 10,000 Demon Valley in this case. Chao Xian narrowed his eyes. Does he want to attack the team that returned from the Saint Realm? Chao Xian shouted in a low voice, "My king." As soon as Chao Xian said this, there was a hum in the void, and a super-strong expert with a terrifying aura appeared. Who else could it be but the Black Killer Snail King? The moment the Black Killer Snail King appeared, Han Fei was not surprised but overjoyed. He let out a long breath of relief. He knew it. If the Saint Realm belonged to the Black Killer Snail King, there were millions or even tens of millions of snails there. As long as the Black Killer Snail King wanted to, it could clone itself one after another. As long as it dared to consume the Black Killer Snail King's energy, it could send one or countless projections. It seemed that the projection of the Black Killer Snail King was obtained at the cost of a lot of corrosive blood. At this moment, a huge snail that was tens of thousands of meters long suddenly covered the sky. Someone exclaimed, "What a creature that is!" Someone was horrified. Such a huge snail. Not just the humans but even the sea demons exclaimed. Someone took the lead to roar, "That's our king! Our king has arrived! Oh, our king has arrived! The Scattered Stars Island will be destroyed today. Human beings, go to hell!" For a moment, the entire frontline battlefield was seething. The sea demons were rioting, and the situation on the battlefield was tilted. Almost at the moment the big snail appeared, the combat power of the sea demons skyrocketed. The big snail said leisurely, "My king! It turns out that you are the new supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Last time, you narrowly escaped death. Today, I'd like to see how you can escape from me again." On the Scattered Stars Island, the hearts of the tens of millions of creatures sank when they heard the Black Killer Snail King call Han Fei. It turned out that Han Fei and this Sea Demon King had met before, and he narrowly escaped death? Many people looked sad. If even a super-strong master like Han Fei could only escape death, how could they fight this battle? For ordinary people, they didn't know the difference between the so-called king and the venerable. They only knew that Han Fei didn't win the battle and ran away. However, these words immediately set off a storm in other people's ears. Was there really no one above the sky listening to them? No, this battle was so significant that the big clans and the 7 major sects couldn't ignore it. However, these people didn't believe that a king could come. Even if it was a king, it would at most be a projection or a clone. As long as it wasn't a real king, they could fight it. However, when they heard that Han Fei could escape death from this big snail king, they were all shocked. What was Han Fei's strength and realm? How could he have grown to such an extent in just a few decades? At this moment, Han Fei looked up at the sky and said in a loud voice, "Let me ask you, is there anyone in the 1,000-star city who is willing to deal with this monster? The 7 major sects? The big clans?" The Black Corpse Snail King laughed hideously. "Who in the 1,000-star city can withstand my attack? Mankind will eventually perish. I'll take over the Inyang sky." As the Black Corpse Snail King laughed, the sound waves shook and the pressure descended. Han Fei slightly frowned. Suddenly, with a clang, a sword hummed, and a sword tied and a rain of swords fell from the sky. In the high sky, the heaven-piercing sword chi suddenly burst out. Han Fei looked at the little red sword leisurely. Sword Master? Seeing that the star tortoise was trembling in the middle of a breakthrough, Han Fei patted it casually. Make a good breakthrough. As long as I'm here, no one can touch you. Han Fei chuckled. Thank you, Sword Master. It seems that the 1,000-star city should be rebuilt. How sad it is that only one of the venerables came. The red sword currents crossed the sky. All of a sudden, the sky descended again, and the giant snail and the sword tides had already bombarded each other. Han Fei shouted, Everyone, listen to me. Today, if I'm not defeated, you won't be defeated. A mere king's projection dares to mess around on the scattered stars island? I've told you that unless your real body arrives, I'll kill you with my saber. 10,000 kilometers away in the sky. On the back of the cloud whale, a black shadow was sitting cross-legged. It was none other than Han Fei's black fog incarnation. Han Fei's voice was unhurried. Cloud whale, you've been on the scattered stars island for more than 800 years. No, to be precise, more than 1,800 years. Is it because you know that the cloud whale is under the Empyrean waterfall too? I've read the history of the scattered stars island. Before that battle, there was no cloud whale in the world. Wu, hearing the cloud whale's cry, Han Fei chuckled. Stop pretending. When I went to the Empyrean waterfall and saw the remains of the cloud whale, I was confused. At that time, there was a doubt. This king's great Dao power was too weak. At that time, I didn't think it was a big deal. I only thought that there were differences in levels, so why didn't the power of Great Path exist? However, you've been on the Scattered Stars Island for more than 800 years, but your strength has never improved. Isn't it weird? It's only because the highest commanders in history haven't seen the corpse under the Empyrean waterfall. If they had, they would have suspected you. The Scattered Stars Island was about to be turned upside down, but Han Fei and the Cloud Whale didn't seem nervous at all. Han Fei continued, however, I think many people will speculate that you are probably the reincarnation of the Cloud Whale. But I've seen the reincarnation of a king. The reason why kings reincarnated was because they didn't want to walk the same path. They would definitely walk a better path than the one they had walked before. So, you can't be the reincarnation of the Cloud Whale. You're Tang Yen, aren't you? After Han Fei said that, the Cloud Whale turned around and changed its direction. A voice came to Han Fei's ears. Interesting. When did you find me? Han Fei smiled. When I passed through the Cloud Whale's demonic essence and reached the Sea of Pearls. I was thinking at the time, if you are the reincarnation of the Cloud Whale, there are too many things in your demonic essence world that can help you grow. There's no reason you don't use them. The reason why the demonic essence directly connected to the Sea of Pearls. I'm afraid that the remains of the Cloud Whale down there are not kings at all. Or maybe he failed the king tribulation. Tang Yen chuckled. Interesting. Why did you call me? Don't you have trump cards? That girl, if she really attacks, she can still kill this king's projection, can't she? Han Fei chuckled. With you, the guardian of the Scattered Stars Island, why would I need an outsider? Crack. On the Scattered Stars Island, a red longsword collapsed, and the 6 paths of reincarnation slashed across the sky and the earth. The black killer snail didn't want to wait any longer. Fearing that more experts from the 1,000-star city would take action, it directly blew back the heavenly sword master. After one round, an old man was blown back 1,000 kilometers. Blood splashed out and he was heavily wounded. At this moment, with a hum, 2 strange lights, one black and one white, burst out of Han Fei's eyes. Han Fei roared, the yin-yang heaven has never had a king in 10,000 years. If there is one, it's not you, stinky snail. Who else can be the king but me? All of a sudden, Han Fei stretched out a cosmic giant hand and crushed the void. Ziyuchuan wanted to watch the show and see how the Black Killer Snail King would destroy the human race. But he never expected that Han Fei, who had been regarded as an actor, would be so powerful. He actually used the power of half a king. Bang, in the sky, Han Fei crushed the void and pinched the sea demon Venerable to death. The millions of soldiers were thrilled. Han Fei took a few steps forward and stood on the same side as the Black Snail King. Everyone, watch me kill the king. The third chapter. I've been writing all the way until now. That's how difficult it is to not have a draft ready. End of chapter. Chapter 1435. A crack that reached the heavens stretched across the sky. In the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and a rain of blood poured down. A venerable died, and the heavens cried, making many people shiver. At that moment, Jing-Er was dumbfounded. She was ready to take action at any time. As soon as Ziyuchuan took action, she was ready to pinch him to death. Because in Jing-Er's judgment, even if Han Fei increased his strength to the limit, he could not be a match for Ziyuchuan. However, when Han Fei's black fog body returned, she knew that Han Fei had gone out. She also knew that the power Han Fei was using now was not Han Fei's own power at all. How could she not know Han Fei's strength? If Han Fei had the ability, he would have directly used the power of a half-king. As early as in the Waterwood sky, he had already turned the sky upside down. When he went to the 10,000 Demon Valley to investigate, he might have already massacred the 10,000 Demon Valley. How could he have waited until now? However, where did Han Fei's power come from? Jing-Er was not the only one who was dumbfounded. Everyone on the Scattered Stars Island was dumbfounded. Han Fei opened his hand, and a large part of the sky shattered, and the void collapsed, revealing a pitch-black void. A guy who looked very strong was pinched to death by Han Fei just like that? Ziyuchuan was really dead, the kind that couldn't even use the blood drop rebirth. He probably didn't understand why even when he died. Even Jing-Er didn't understand, let alone the others. In the Thousand Star City, among the 7 major sects, several people sighed faintly. Just now, Han Fei asked if anyone in the Thousand Star City was willing to take action. However, except for the Heavenly Sword Master and some venerables who had made up their minds to fight, everyone else's heart sank. Was Han Fei deliberately asking that question just now? The big clans had never been on good terms with Han Fei. In fact, it wasn't that they didn't want to take action, but they just wanted to wait. They wanted to force Han Fei to use his trump card. After all, none of the people from the Thug Academy had come out yet. The best-case scenario was that Han Fei could be seriously injured in this battle. That would be in line with their interests. In their opinion, it didn't matter how many people died in this battle, or how the battle turned out. The most important thing was that when the Venerable's broken body came out, they would have a chance to get it. At this time, Chu Men said, "Don't panic, it's just borrowed power." However, someone else said, "Even if it's borrowed power, his body has to be able to withstand it. Can Han Fei withstand the power of a half-king realm? This means that his body and meridians have reached an extremely terrifying level." The corners of Han Fei's mouth rose. Like I said, this is a peerless battle. How could he not have any tricks up his sleeve? The reason why he borrowed strength from Tang Yen was that he was betting that Tang Yen understood him. How could Tang Yen understand? It all started with Tang Yen serving as the commander of the Scattered Stars Island 1,800 years ago. According to the specific records, Tang Yen had fought 63 wars on the Scattered Stars Island in the short 5 years he was in power, and the world was in chaos. As for Tang Yen himself, he rose to power and swept through everything in his path. He really went against the heavens, the earth, and the air. Han Fei certainly knew why. The Supreme Commander wanted to obtain the power of wishes from millions of soldiers. This was also the reason why the successive Supreme Commanders of the Scattered Stars Island didn't make rapid breakthroughs. In fact, they didn't want to be as crazy as Tang Yen, frantically collecting the power of wishes at the cost of human lives. At first, Han Fei thought so too. However, Han Fei discovered another fact. That was, 500 years after Tang Yen, the battles between the Scattered Stars Island and the sea demons suddenly decreased by 80%. What did this mean? Just like when Han Fei came to the Scattered Stars Island, there was a large-scale battle almost every 6 months to a year. It would be amazing if they could fight 5 large-scale battles in 5 years. However, this kind of low-frequency war couldn't cause much loss to the sea demons. During the truce, they had plenty of time to recover. You raise me, we raise each other. As time went by, both sides became fat. When the two sides became fat to the extreme, there would inevitably be a super collision. This kind of collision might be even more tragic than Tang Yan's one battle a month. For example, today, the number of venerables on both sides had already exceeded 20. This number, even in the Shuemu heaven, was extremely rare. Tang Yen was a man who loved to fight. How could he not understand? Besides, Tang Yen cared about human beings. Otherwise, why would he hide in the Cloud Whale's body and linger on the Scattered Stars Island until now? Also, when Han Fei deduced the void fishing art, it caused thunderous rumbles. How could Tang Yen not know? After all, the place Han Fei chose to deduce at that time was taken by the Cloud Whale. In other words, while Tang Yen was secretly cultivating, he had been paying attention to the Scattered Stars Island. What was certain was that Tang Yen knew more about the situation on the island than most people. Tang Yen was both warmonger and concerned about human beings. How could he ignore the destruction of the Scattered Stars Island? However, Tang Yen didn't personally participate in the battle, but injected a mass of power into the demonic essence in Han Fei's body. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that his body was about to explode, so he immediately chose to return. With a loud blow, Ziyuchuan was killed. When he blasted out this blow, Han Fei's heart was also shocked. What Tang Yen gave him was the power in the demonic essence. Was Tang Yen a human or a demon now? But at this moment, Han Fei was not in the mood to think about this. At this time, he was at the peak of his strength, so he should use his strongest weapon, the embroidery needle. Han Fei roared, "Hey! Demon Conch, go to hell!" In the sky, Han Fei and the sky demon Conch disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. In the sky, Han Fei's voice was still echoing over the Scattered Stars Island. "Fight hard! Those who are still alive after this battle, I'll lead you to wash the 10,000 Demon Valley with blood and destroy the sea demon's nest. Kill, kill." At that moment, the battlefield outside the Scattered Stars Island had already gone crazy. Countless people were roaring non-stop, and their blood had risen to the extreme. Some even made breakthroughs in the battle. On the battlefield of the South Bank, Lin Wu was shocked. It turned out that she was a fool. She thought that senior brother was secretly spreading his battle achievements to win people's hearts or something. In fact, senior brother had already reached a height that she couldn't understand at all. On the sea demon's side, their morale suddenly dropped. Although the appearance of the Black Killer Snail King was shocking, Han Fei's appearance was even more shocking. However, Han Fei's appearance was even more shocking. He pinched a venerable to death with a slap and claimed that he was going to kill a king? Most importantly, the Black Killer Snail King didn't say anything threatening, which made them feel a little guilty. In the void, Han Fei and the Black Killer Snail King fought to a place 10,000 kilometers away. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The irregular law of gravity descended, and Han Fei was hammered hundreds of times in the blink of an eye. This place is forbidden. Clang, clang, clang. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei bombarded more than 300 times, making the Black Killer Snail King's scalp numb. Its shell cracked, and a large amount of corrosive blood flew out. The broken shell was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Apocalypse divine technique. The holy light descended, and Han Fei, who was covered in blood, recovered in the blink of an eye. Swish, swish, swish. The Black Killer Snail King gritted its teeth. Impossible. This is not your power. Han Fei cursed. Why do you care where I got my power? You want to compete with me in efficiency? What? Do you think you can be faster than me? The Black Killer Snail King scoffed. Your power, like my projection, will run out sooner or later. Let's see how long the Scattered Stars Island can last. The Black Killer Snail King's body twisted, and 6 layers of sharp thorns shot out from each layer. In an instant, those spikes turned into a new conch. Han Fei was stunned. What the hell is going on? The Black Killer Snail King smiled coldly. I'd like to see if you can create thousands of clones too. In Han Fei's body, the old turtle said, it's just a cloning technique, but its power should not be underestimated. Each of them is equivalent to a demi-venerable. Ho! The 100 Beasts Soul Suppressor roared. However, just as the heaven-shaking roar came out, there was only a woola sound, the sound of a conch shaking the heavens. The 100 beast shadows, inch by inch, shattered. The Black Killer Snail King sneered. Let's see how long you can last. Han Fei stomped, and the space was shortened. The Black Killer Snail King, who had just run more than 100 meters, couldn't even run 100 meters. Han Fei casually threw out a mass of demonic energy, and billions of points of demonic energy exploded, blowing up the void 10,000 kilometers away. In the sky and on the ground, the pillar of light lasted for a long time. Even on the Scattered Stars Island thousands of kilometers away, in the chaotic battlefield, everyone felt that their eyes were lit up, as if they had been blinded. Rumble, the doppelganger of the Black Killer Snail King, did not even have time to run before it was directly blown into pieces. Han Fei said disdainfully, Do you think you are the only demi-king? I'm also a demi-king now. How much higher do you think you can be than me? The Black Killer Snail King was furious. This time, he sacrificed almost half of the Saint Realm in order to get out of the Saint Realm. However, Han Fei's attack reduced 20% of his power. The terrifying power hadn't dissipated yet. Han Fei smiled and said, Explode again. The Black Killer Snail King's heart did a flip. F***CK, do you have more? But he immediately found that something was wrong. There was a drop of water hanging on his shell. Boom, the infinity water exploded. However, the power immediately disappointed Han Fei. After all, he could only temporarily use the power of a demi-king, and the infinity water couldn't reach this level yet. However, Han Fei didn't care. He raised the embroidery needle again and shouted, Come on, aren't you a demi-king? Why don't you create another clone for me? The Black Killer Snail King snorted. Your name is Han Fei, isn't it? You have a lot of tricks, but is that all you've got? First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter.